On today's episode of Let's Talk FGO, Wandjina event starts. Noah event starts. And that's really all there is to it. I'm like doing a thing with my finger pointing that you can't see. Hi. I'm one of your hosts. I am the Space Case Omega. With me as always, the Navigator, Lucky.
But with that, I hope everyone's enjoying a Fate Grand Order, aka we all float on okay. And while we here at Studio Mega like to bring you the latest in FGO related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events for both the JP and EM version of the game. So anyone not wanting spoilers should get aboard the Mecha arc.
Yeah, there's a whole thingus, yeah.
That's the whole thing, yes.
Got some CMs, got some stuff. Anyway, welcome back to Let's Talk FGO. It's your weekly FGO podcast and also other things. I have to be careful not to say stuff, otherwise we'll start singing it already. But hi, hello, welcome. This show is brought to you by our wonderful, beautiful listeners, including our patrons. More on that later. But we're talking about the Wandjina event. I guess the preamble business to talk about a little bit is, because I mentioned it as an aside, probably in like the middle and also towards the end of the episode last week, just talking about what was on the docket. But hey, made a new Wanted. Gotten a little bit of positive feedback on the stuff we talked about. I talked about how I had some tools to spruce it up a little, and got to try out a few of those. The video's not breaking any records because I think most people would have expected that Wandjina's not like a giga anticipated servant. She's cute, but there definitely was kind of like a yeah. Honestly, as neat as Summer Festival 25 was, if we wanted to use that as a backdoor pilot to Wandjina, we didn't really get to see a lot out of her because mostly she just floats in space as a giant pair of eyes that look like a butterfly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like the video's not like killing it as far as wanteds go, but I have gotten some positive feedback. Even if you're not interested in Wandjina, I would take a crack to look at it and let me know what you think. Like I said, added got a chance to add a few extra visual transitions and some more audio transitions testing out. And like I said, people have generally been positive, helps you know when and where you're at in the video better. And I got to have fun picking different King Crimson sound effects. Also, obviously, this does work out as a Patreon plug, because if you're watching the version on YouTube, while my intro musical skit worked, because it was a mashup edit that I won't describe if you haven't seen it, you have to watch the video at least literally 3 seconds in to get that one. But the outro I used was a few too many seconds of Men at Work's classic Down Under. They say, "Can you hear the thunder in the song?" It was too perfect, but yeah, I used a little too much out of the outro chorus. So that part in YouTube got muted. But I did have the original version uploaded to Patreon, so our $5 and up patrons can, watch the whole thing early. And usually I try, if there's going to be a risk of a copywriting, which would require a muting or something to stay monetized, usually I upload the full clean version to Patreon, so there are no edits. But that all said, let us, now that I've bored you with, the trying to get you to watch my other YouTube video inside my YouTube video, let's move on to the rest of our show's business and check in with everybody's favorite Kohai, Bash.
Senpai, 起きてください.
Because that's our regular segment for her tips. Wake the fuck up, Senpai. And it's very simple, but I want to remind you, yeah, there's free quests to do, but there's just, new story quests every day, every daily reset here. So if you're caught up all on that, during this event period, which is going to last like 20 days, Bleach Truth quests are half AP.
Yeah.
So kind of giving you some room to catch up on the grind and work through some stuff and check it out. So, be reminded of that. I'm pretty sure this is intentional game design. But with that out of the way, that means let's move to Regular Throne, our regular achievement topic for which we talk about what cool things we may have done in FGO. So, hey kids, I mentioned this before, but Wandjina banner hit. Guess who's the 4-star? It's Crimeheld. She's there. She's story locked normally. You may recall from, it's about a year ago that Traum dropped, I think?
Oh,
2 years.
Over a year.
Yeah. Anyway, when Traum hit, absolutely blasted, no luck with Charlemagne or Crimeheld, which I think was the same banner. So, this was of interest to me. So I threw all the tickets we got, and we did get one single Crimeheld, and I got a 5-star CE. And I got a couple of 3-star Cs, but the 5-star C is the outlier there. Mm-hmm. And of course, thanks to weekly EXP purchases, or monthly EXP purchases, Crimeheld Smile protected.
Very important. If we're gonna talk about what I did, I wasn't originally planning on throwing on anything on this banner. As I said, I need to save for a lot next year, but unfortunately FGO did the thing where they showed me a character and I went, oh no, this character is cute. I want her. But I was able to maintain some level of restraint and only throw 10 tickets. Unfortunately, I did not get a Wandjina, but I did get my second Krem, so she's at MP2, and the 4-star CE, which is the, Siegfried CE? So I get to slap that on Krem and my support setup and be like,
Laughing lizard gif.
yes. Like
Yeah,
I
perfect.
said, in the future, if I have the opportunity, I may consider throwing for Wandjina in a Destiny Order or GSSR, depending. Like I said, she is cute, and I do find her animations endearing.
Yep. It's very
Like I said,
interesting
like
because I talked about this in the Wanted, but basically, you got this year. It's pretty normal. Since
Yes.
there's no reruns, there's no specific rate up through her through all of next year. There'll be no rate up in 26, but there's going to be like 3 in 27.
No, so like I said, I don't think she necessarily covers a niche that I need to have covered, but at this point, I am more rolling for love of the character than I am for mechanics. So she is definitely going to be one that I will, heavily consider in the future. But no, I gotta save. Gotta save. We got so much coming up next year.
But like I said, she's a brand new SSR, so you can be pretty sure that for at least 2 years she's going to be on all the Lucky Bag GSSRs and stuff.
Yeah.
But that means it's time to talk about, did you finish your master missions? This week's master missions are perform 30 FP summons, complete 5 quests, complete 10 quests, defeat 3 good servants, defeat 3 neutral servants, and then defeat 15 enemies with the heaven attribute, period. I am fairly certain that most of these will be accomplishable in the event, either now or as you unlock more quests, other than performing 30 FP summons, but it used to be a thing, I feel like, when it was earlier in the game and, we didn't have Jack and or shit, that, you would always be like, oh, you gotta go fishing for the 3-star CE and the FP banner.
Mm-hmm.
Then they started putting time-limited servants in the FP banner occasionally, and it was like, well, shit, hold on. Maybe I should hold on to my FP. You never know what weird rate-ups you'll see. But you should spend it pretty regularly. You get a free one every day, so you can accomplish that just by paying a little bit of attention. And that means that it's time to move into Skelegrams. We're going to talk about things and stuff. We're doing a little, 1-2-1 type beat here. Because first, JP, Japan version of the server, kicked off the month with the pre-release, the pre-campaign for Grand Duel Rider, starting the 3rd, going until the 16th. Get your bonus exchange tickets for writers, mats, skill cookies and statues. Usual campaigns for writers, writer dailies for mats are open all the time, and I think for EXPs, everything's half AP. Get extra bond for writers. You can use trial quest for writers, that kind of stuff. Various writer-themed accessories. And also, of course, the usual rate up of Oops All Writer banners. If there is a writer that, requires some sort of rate up, you got them. I think probably the most interesting thing about it, let me see if I can look at the Summoner tab. But obviously this will be a chance for some units who don't have some rate ups to get in there. But yes, I think that is what people did point out. The curious thing, because I'm pretty sure some of your extra copies are in your FP gacha, but sorry, this is me scrolling with my eyes to double check. Yes, no, Habitat is actually not featured at all as a rate up in the 4-star block because she is into FP. But we got everybody else to consider, all your normals and others. I'm also looking at the alternating rate of 5-star writers. Writers are pretty good, but it's very funny to see this go back and forth because it's like Drake and then Maeve, then Iskander, Ozymandias, Quetz. So kind of at around Okeanos, we would get one new writer a story chapter, and then the gaps get much bigger, though sometimes tighter together. That's going to be 1 a year? Anyway, check it out. Next, though, starting the 4th, our time. EN, Great Spirits World Tour. Around the world with the Esteemed Spirit, starting the 4th, ending the 24th, like I told you, 20 days. New quest unlocks every day. There's no, points or anything here. We'll talk about it later when we do first impressions, but I am kind of interested to see what our story escalation is here, because we're 2 days in, and we're already doing some pretty weird stuff, so I'm wondering where the problem solving's gonna go, But it's rolling out. There is a login campaign lasting all these 20 days for lots of apples, lots of silvers, a few golds. Apples. The banner now is Wandjina Crimhild, which I mentioned earlier. There will be a Voyager Yagi banner later. And everything else is basically how we wrote it up. Check out the pregame from last week.
Woo!
It's all pretty simple and straightforward. Like I said, it's a Fuyuki Clear event, which may have some side spoilers for some later part, 2 stories.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, a little bit of a sore dry throat today. I did had to do some rattling around to find some lost objects beneath my bedside table and dresser and stuff, which is of course a little cruddy. Hopefully that's not going to be too impactful on my nose and throat. But yes, that's Great Spirit World Tour. It's ongoing. Like I said, we'll talk more about what we've been seeing about the event later, after the flip, which the flip is where we do Mailbag. That's it. I don't know what we call it after the flip, but it's a thing. The show's segmented. We kind of do the whole show as like a 1-2-1 beat, because usually I take the lead in Skelegrams, it takes the lead in Mailbag, and then I take it back for new servant deets and shit. Which, by the way, there will be, because behold, new JP event. The short version, or the short name of this, is Vanished Beginning, starting 9/5, going till 9/16. Also, sorry, very something.
You are
very gross.
Yeah,
I'm going to fill my water bottle break after Skelegrams. But the full title of this is Lost Genesis: The Arc from the Future. This event does have main story, but I believe it is listed that there are no free quests. I think this is a raid event, if I'm understanding it correctly, which has been a little while.
It has been a while. Usually raids are pretty good, especially for mat farming. You get a lot of stuff out of raid quests.
And especially in the context of this, where there's no free quests at all, so the whole event line is just going to be, the raids. It'll be interesting to see, especially because there's not a huge... It's the usual 2-ish weeks, not 3-ish weeks. But I guess if there's nothing to farm, then...
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's an older style of event design, but I'm glad to see them going back there for it. Requires audio called Prologue cleared to participate. The banner is Nemo/Noah. That's the officially written name. And Kyrki. Rogue Ramen is not here, but I'm sure somewhere he's, excitedly, pumping his fist, doing the moist critical meme. This is what I've been waiting for about Kyrki. But yes, Ryder Noah is here. Not the exact, literal exact same design from Arcade, but very, very much taking cues from his Arcade appearance.
I am glad that, again, we talked about this, how it made way too much frickin' sense for it to be Noah, but I am still glad that he's here.
Yes. No, it's a good fit, and obviously with it being presumably a story-heavy event, because there's not a lot of farming going on, we'll see, what our level is. But there have already been, I think, a few funny interactions. I will say I watched the 16-second CM, and it kind of looks like good Noah, bad Noah type shit. So I don't know exactly what the rules are, but we'll see, I'm sure. But yeah, Kyrki's your rated 4-star, brand new servant, limited writer Nemo Noah. We also got some rank ups. Regular Nemo's Voyage of the Storm has been buffed. Its buffs have been extended for 3 turns and increased to be 15% max. One of the major downsides of Voyager of the Storm, which is the attack up and NP damage up, is that it's party wide but only 1 turn, and especially with old FGO, what are the odds you're gonna fire multiple NPs per turn? And then the problem with new FGO is, what are the odds that the enemy wave is gonna live through 2 NPs in 1 turn, So you waste a lot of turn on there. So you got there. It also gives a further 10 to 20% attack up to the party on water or void fields, and also gives the party a 50 to 100% buff removal resist for 1 time 3 turns. Those of you who get to do certain rank ups and stuff, well, actually, I don't know if they'll make it retroactive, but this sure would have been a nice effect to have back in the LB7 days, with Talalok, slurping up your defensive buffs while I wasn't looking. But also, Kyrki's got a pretty rad one.
Yeah!
So, her 3rd skill, which was previously just her big party crit up and the debuff cleanse, which was important, is now a party-wide 10 to 15 arts up, buster up, and NP damage up for everybody for 3 turns.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, Kyrki obviously has a fairly strong role as a caster hitter. She's basically the 4-star version of Medea, because you basically get to go instant NP, bring the damage with a single target, though it is a conditional stun instead of a buff removal. Both have their merits. And boy, let me tell you, I rolled enough for Odysseus. I got an NP5 Kyrki. Technically, I think my Kyrki's NP7. There's a lot of Kyrkis, man. But this really blocks in her as a effectively budget team supporter.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Personally, I'm getting a little irritated at a lot of these dual supports, though. We see a lot of Buster arts quick, quick Buster. It's like, god damn.
I mean, it's true, but it is one of those things of I'm pretty well, actually, I don't know. Kyrki has a Buster NP, but she might have 3 arts cards. I'd have to double check. It's one of those things where, like, when it's multiple turns, I think I get what they're going for. So obviously the idea is the Buster Up and the NP damage up at 15% is also for Kirky. It's team-wide, so it's basically a double offense steroid for her. While also, because it's 3 turns, giving you follow-up, because if you're going to get a shitload of arts cards, they're also buffed. I will say, with usually, only one NP card damage type, dual color buffs, I feel like usually have to carry more weight to matter, especially because their stats are usually split. Spoiler, when we do new servant deets after Mailbag, we're going to talk about Nemo Noah, and talk about his, he has a single focus arts buff. And it's like, he gets away with a lot more than Kirky does.
Yeah, Kirky is a classic caster deck, triple arts quick buster.
Yeah, that's one of the. I mean, I'll say this: I don't know when they or how they pick. I guess decks for servants made after the second year of the game. We probably could have just given Kirky 2 buster cards, and I'm sure her NP gain would have been fine. I mean, she's got fucking high speed divine words, so it also doesn't matter. But it's one of those things where, because we didn't adjust the card type, it's like, you give her a 3-turn Buster Up, and it's like, well, okay, the odds that she uses this outside of the NP turn might be pretty bad. So it all cycles out. But it's one of those cases where I think they're trying to, give servants like a multi-core proficiency. There are, I think, some units who do it better than others. Like, I think that, Summer Scotty is an excellent quick supporter who also just so happens to, give your Buster cards just as much juice, so if you happen to, stumble into a Buster crit, doing all these quick NPs, it works. It just works. I will say, I feel like Arts Buster synergy, we're doing a little editorializing chat, but I feel like Arts Buster synergy is probably the worst in the game, because those, I feel like, are the 2 that are farthest apart.
Yep.
Because, if you go Arts quick, you can still NP gen, and Arts crits are still, really good at also NP genning.
Yeah.
And on it late, so really good quick cards also generate you a lot of NP. And if you're
Quick
going,
just
we
here.
just said, Buster Quick. You basically use quick cards to set up a big Buster later. Because outside of very specific things that Koi and Sky of Light does, Buster doesn't generate NP, and Arts doesn't generate stars to feed Buster crits, normally, outside of Caskill. They don't really come together, so, 15% is not crazy, but it's a 15% Buster Up and NP damage up. That is her NP type, so it will let her, flex her NP a little, while also, she has 3 arts cards, so she might be playing her in an arts comp team. Casters are weird, and there's a lot of stuff to make up for early game stuff. And I want to remind everybody, this is still on her 3rd skill, which is also still a party-wide crit up, and a party-wide debuff cleanse. So the skill was already useful. Now it's just got, some extra buff sauce to get in there. Yeah, single-target casters can be very powerful, so I don't know how much flexing they need to do, but it is still a thing that's, because casters have bad NP damage multipliers, they'll underperform a little. Trust me, I want to say this, to our patrons listening live and to our people watching the podcast later. I know all about the limits of single-target casters. I was Mr. Shiba, and as I said, I now have a, technically an NP7 Kirky. I try, but man, it does not always go.
Actually, let me double check Onicure's kit real quick. I think she also has a dual in hers.
Yeah, I think she is, but I'm pretty sure, actually, I should double check. Well, Lucky's looking it up. I'll double check Shiba, because I feel like Shiba actually had a Saber deck with 2 Buster cards, but also I feel kind of yes, so she's Arts, Buster. Shiba also didn't go apeshit enough.
Yeah, Caster Shootin also has a caster deck, and also has the Buster Arts split.
Is it just on herself, or is it for the team?
Just for herself.
Okay.
Very selfish.
Because Shiba also has Shiba basically already has her 3rd skill, the same thing, gain 10 crit stars, and it's Arts and Buster Up for the party for 3 turns. Hers caps out at 20%, but also it only does one more thing after the Arts Buster.
Yeah, no, Onicure has a Heartbreak, which does a NP seal for 1 turn and reduces crit rate for a single enemy, which is pretty nice if you're fighting a boss monster. And like I said, second skill is
Art. That's kind of where you're going.
Yeah, but also her second skill, Break Rod, is Arts and Buster Up for 1 turn and increase critical star rate for yourself for 1 turn, so she can slurp up all those stars. Her 3rd skill is Attack Up for 3 turns for all animes and apply special attack demonic for yourself for 3 turns. So Onikure has a very specific niche in just being really strong for 1 turn and slapping the shit out of one demon in particular.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say probably, like, I'm kind of surprised. I think she's available in the shop and they haven't buffed it. Maybe she is that good at free NP5, but the Arts and Buster being, like, 1 turn only on self is, like, that talking about, like, a little bit of, you know, your plus is suffering, your uptime, but, like, you are possibly losing a little uptime because, you know, you're gonna have to pick, if you're doing a Brave Chain, what cards you're using, and with break bars, you know, you might waste some damage on that 1 turn. But like I said, if they haven't buffed it, maybe she does actually output the numbers.
Well, actually, yeah. I just filtered here. We only have. Well, I should say I only have 4-star single target casters, and that's Summer Corday, Onikure, Shiba, and Kirky. Let me add the 5-star to that and see what happens.
I'm pretty sure on the wiki. Let's see, Noble Phantasm list, caster, filter by single.
When I add the 5 stars, it adds Okuni, Ilya, and Tripitaka here.
Assuming this list on the wiki is dated correctly, Okuni is, the last 5-star, I think.
Wow.
Actually, no, is Yui Kosetsu 5-star? No, that's support. That's why she's not filtered, right? Yeah, so she doesn't even do damage. Yeah, no, so Okuni is the last one.
No, I just, undid it all. We have fucking 8 total. From Medea to Okuni.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And that is it. That's the list. Yeah, that's the stop. So, in that, you have, by the way, 4 Buster single target NPs. We tried this trick a lot. You've got Sanzo and Ilya, then Kirky, and then Onikure. Shiba is an Arch single target, as is Summer Corday and Medea for that matter. And then Okuni is the only quick single target caster we've gotten yet. So chat, by the way, God. This is why Lucky and most other people you know just use Meltrilus. I'm sad to say it. This is why this happens.
Yeah.
It's because they invented alter egos to be better at doing the caster role for class comp, and nobody has looked back. But giving Kirky some more party support so that she can buff other single target casters, I guess, probably doesn't hurt. And, 90 plus nodes are weird.
No, I'm looking at Shiba's kit right now, and she's actually much more spread out with her buffs, but she does have Eye of the Spirits, which increases her critical strength, and apply Ignore Invincible for 1 turn. Her Wisdom of her Demon God 3rd skill is the Arts up, Buster up, and King Grit Scars, but it's already 3 turns.
Yeah.
So,
gives her a little flexibility. I think probably the main thing that holds Shiba back overall is just the fact that she is a caster who is arts focused on damage in the 4-star slot, so that means her damage underperforms a little. But you get a Pierce.
Yeah, no, and she has the double arts, double buster quick deck. Huh.
And the interesting thing is that she had a charisma that then got buffed. And then her Wisdom of the Demon Gods. Those are also all party wide, so you get to have some fun with off attackers, basically. This is a thing, by the way, I spend a decent amount of time thinking about and usually condensing down into 1 or 2 bullet points in Wanted. But Team Comp can be very funny in FGO. There are some servants you look at and you're just like, yes, slap 2 Scotties on it. Oh, what's that? Your arts? Castoria, 5-time MVP. Shit like that. But then there are times you get it and you're just like, okay, so you could do this, but then to bring my joke back about, I didn't even think about it when I was writing the Wanted script, because I already had it in the can when we did the 14 stream, but, if you want to maximize your uptime, a unit like Wandjina, for instance, she has all these buffs that are related to allies who are the human attribute, including one of her buffs that's the source of her, special stack to make her NP damage better on her single target NP. So, hey, guess what, guys? Scotty is heaven. Most quick supporters are heaven or earth. And I think Skahak, regular Skahak, is star. She's star or earth, so it's yeah, guess what? That means that, you are missing out on some funny interactions if you just go default smooth brain turn and burn. My recommendation, by the way, in the Wanted video was, if you want human attribute, quick servants who are also quick supporters, have team-wide buffs, send no Ryukyu, Takasugi Shinzaku. That's about it. But yes, it's a good buff for Kirky, but it is always interesting to have these kind of conversations about team comps. But you guys will see a little bit of a difference, not just because they're 4 and 5 stars, but it's a little bit of a difference in how the effort we went to for Nemo Noah. You'll see that after the mailbag, which we will do very shortly. But We're at about 30 minutes in. Let me take a brief intermission to refill my water before we get started.
Okay.
Let me unpause. Sorry, chat. We're having a conversation about drinking water.
Yeah.
I was relating to Lucky that some of you may recall. I think I talked about it, but I used to buy like little single drink mix, packets. Throw that shit in a bottle of water.
Yeah.
But that means that you consume a lot of bottle of water and a lot of little Kool-Aid flavor packets.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it'd be get expensive for a while. No, what I've been doing recently is I've been going to our yonder dollar store, and I've been getting these Old Orchard's Healthy Balances, which, oh god, what are they? They're like less than $2 a bottle, but they're a half gallon each, and they're you can drink the whole thing in one sitting. It's no more than 80 calories and like 8 grams of sugar, 16 grams of carbs. You get more carbs eating a fucking sandwich than you do drinking this whole damn thing. And it has a bit of flavor to it. The one I'm drinking right now is apple cranberry, which are some of my favorite red colors.
Yeah, so the part of the thing I conditioned myself out of is I switched to a reusable glass water bottle. So if you want to use drink mix with that, you got to like wash it out every time.
Oh, I get it.
So I just drink the water straight from the tap these days.
Drink the water.
I do admit, sometimes I crave the flavor. You should get into fucking Arizona iced teas. I know those guys are still cheap as hell. It's your big ass can for 99 cents. Remember, hydrate or dihydrate.
It's a great mod. So, with that though, let's pivot back towards the show and let's do Mailbag. So everyone, I hope you are ready for this week's Let's Talk FGO Mailbag, the segment where we read what you have to say and comment accordingly. Let's do a quick refresh on the page here, see if we got any last minute ones. And we have six lovely comments. Probably won't take too long, so prepare for the fappening if need be. We will get through them all right now. This first one comes from a Monster Girl aficionado who says, "Dear Lucky Omega, no question this week, just sending good vibes. Wah 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 wah. And wishing you well. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. I always like to hear those well wishes. But we're gonna keep on moving on." This next one comes from the Volnado, who says, "Hello, Eastwind Lucky and Westwind Omega. No question this week. Sending good vibes. Wah 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 wah." Oh man, I can never remember the name of the 4 winds in like Greek mythology. What were they? That's something to consider later. But yes, used to be that. Well, people back in the day, they gave names to everything.
Well, not to mention when you're I guess the way I want to phrase it, when your worldview is relatively small. You're in Greece, so you're like, yes, Greek islands. Ocean. Egypt's over there. Persia's over there. North is up there. I don't actually know who would have been. I know what countries are immediately north of Greece now. I don't know what peoples they would have been in ancient Greek times, actually. They didn't really cross the mountains that much. And you just go... Oh, and sorry, I should mention, the westerly fringe. That's beyond the pillars of Hercules. That's nothing out there. It's really easy to name your 4 cardinal directions.
It's true. So, let's move on to the next one. Thank you very much. This next one comes from the 100-hour man, who says, "Dear Lucky and Omega, hope you two are having a fantastic week. Heart! No question for y'all this week. Just keep on being awesome. I'll try, no promises. Lucky do how we do."
Classic heart. That was less than 3.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think we've been having a pretty good week. I've been trying to drag the guys into playing Abiotic Factor whenever I can because I'm still enjoying that game. We'll probably talk about our experiences with that later.
Yeah, I got a note for it. It's a fun game, and also I feel a little driven to actually get in there too, because like I know you're feeling cool with like a more sedate pace, but I do like the regular progress because we may have other stuff that we want to do. Schedule 1 just recently put out the cartel update like last week, and now the poll for the next thing is up. And I should double check the results. I think they'll announce the results by next week's show, but like there seems like a wealth of difference content-wise between mushrooms and even fishing, and then hireable drivers. Not that hireable drivers are bad. That would be great, but the content scale is different. Plus, there was a fucking alien event in Supermarket together.
Yeah. So, this next one comes from Mr. Alias Franklin VIII, who says, "No question, only the vibe." I wish I had a reverb button for that.
Oh god, if I could do fucking buttons, that'd be so great. Hold on, let me count how many fucking exclamation points there are here, though, chat. Is that 10? I think that might be 10 exclamation points?
I don't know, it's a little hard to see. They're very damn close together. But there is many. There is a lot of exclamation to this point.
Yes, my favorite counting system. 1, 2, 3, many.
Mine is personally one couple few mini. So, moving on though, this next one comes from the Tyrant King that needs to debate on whether to buy a case of cards or not. People and their case of cards money.
God, cases are so expensive.
But they say, question, hey guys, with the summer core of anime winding down, what fall anime are you looking forward to? Anyway, that's it for me, sending good vibes your way. Wah, 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 wah. And have a great evening. So, I have been trying to keep a little bit more in tune with what's coming out, this core, or next core, I should say. We still got maybe a few weeks left in this core. But honestly, like, there's a lot of things coming out. I'm not entirely sure which one's gonna grab me. Like, I'm probably gonna watch, like, several things, give it the 3-episode treatment to see if it hooks me. But there's actually, like, very little that I'm, actually excited about. One of the reasons is that one of the animes that I was excited about, The Barbarian's Bride, actually got delayed, and I was like, no! That one is someone that I was very excited for, has very good world building, and well, the manga has this very, very lovely balance of lewd and wholesome that I have come to appreciate more and more as I get older. But like I said, to ensure a standard of quality, they have pushed it back to next year. So I'm very sad about that. Another one that I am looking forward to is Vampire Can't Suck, which is just a pure diabetes show about a high school vampire girl and a boy she starts hanging out with. It's gonna be super great. It's gonna be super cute. I am dying of diabetes already.
10 out of 10 name.
Oh yeah, but I was checking through earlier. There seems to be a few expelled from the party animes, a few isekai animes. We're getting a lot of second seasons of a few things, like Cooking in Another World, Let This Grieving Soul Lie. I am interested in that one, and a few other things. But, like I said, nothing I am, actually, looking forward to overall. Well, not that many, I should say. But we will see. Like I said, I started this core not expecting much, and I have found many gems in theirs. Although I still have not been able to finish Takapi's Original Sin. That shit's heavy. Ooh. I usually have to call my friend over and it's like, we gotta watch this together. And he's all like, I don't know if I can do it, man. And it's like, I need you! Yes, emotional support friend for Takapi's Original Sin is very much needed. Jesus.
Yeah, I haven't done shows like that.
But no,
unfortunately, I'm fucking swamped, man. Mm-hmm. We're playing Abiotic. We're trying to do streams and other shit. My power was off basically all day Tuesday, but the generator's in, so hopefully.
Yeah.
But, I haven't caught up on this week's Dandadan.
I haven't either. So, speaking of Dandadan, I'm actually a little surprised. I thought they would actually move forward through the GG and Evil Eye arc a bit faster, but they didn't. We basically spent the entire season, working on that stuff, and I think we're only really getting to set up the next part in these last few episodes, which is gonna introduce one of my favorite characters. Not the guy. It's not him. Fuck him. Well, not fuck him. He's okay, but he's a fucking nerd.
Well, I'll be glad to see it. Honestly, I think that's some of not to turn the podcast into an episode about how Dandadan's really cool, guys, but it is really cool, and I think part of the strength, both in the manga from what I've seen, but also the anime, is you get these fucking weird, wild, supernatural action set pieces, even as far back as, the first season, hey, Turbo Granny's a crab now. Shit like that. Or just the unbridled poetry that Science Saru brought to, Momo Awakening or Psychic Powers. That's how I first got introduced to the show, was gifs of those moments in the very first episode, and I'm like, oh, this is sick, what's this? But you get those, really good, high intense moments, which are emotionally paid off, too. There's a lot of emotional character growth going on. But I feel like Dandadan works because you also have the kind of, slice of life normal moments in between. Even if it's slice of life, but your life is fucked up and haunted by ghosts.
Oh, yeah. No, it's actually very interesting. The author for Dandadan does a lot of interesting stuff. We're continuing to collect kids with unusual superpowers in the story, but it doesn't never actually, feel old. And like I said, some things happen to some characters that, may change their life, and other things happen in others. I don't know exactly how far we're going to get here. I don't know if we were actually getting back-to-back throws with Dandadan this core. I kind
of feel like I'd like it if we did, because they fucking cliffhangered me with the first core. But
yeah,
I kind of feel like we aren't, because I do know that Science Saru has shit to do. They're working on a new Ghost of the Shell, by the way.
Yes.
Which I am super hyped for, but I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, that reminds me. I do believe that we got the 3rd volume of Star Wars Visions coming out this core. I haven't even watched. I haven't even
caught up on the second one. I should actually. I pay the House of Mouse. I should fucking use it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember, Science Saru doing for that, but it's no, it's just like one of those things. Like Dandadan is really good, and I really like the anime. It's just that like I said, I read the manga ahead, so I kind of know what's happening. I'm seeing the setup to the next arc, but I'm like, we only got like 3 episodes left. That is not enough time. Are you gonna cliffhanger me again?
Usually these animes are done with the cooperation and collaboration of the mangaka. So I don't know. Is that the Dead guy's thing? Is he fucking with us?
He might like the fuck with us.
She actually, I don't know. It might. I don't know. I don't actually know much about them. I should double check my sources. But yeah, no, it's good. But like, I'm not caught up this week on that. I think this, because of course Netflix does this, but I'm pretty sure this Wednesday they released the other batch of episodes of the new season of Wednesday.
Ah, yes, I do remember hearing that. Yes.
I watched hey, guess what? They did 4. They cliffhangered me again. Netflix, come on. They fucking hurled Wednesday out of a window in the middle of the episode, and they're just like, all right, that's it. And I'm like, really, guys? I had to wait like a month, I think? God, Netflix, you're killing me. It reminds me of, completely unrelated, but we can faff a little, because we're like, let me double check. I think we're sub 1 hour. Yeah, we're like 47 minutes. OSP, Everybody Drink, put out a detailed diatribe on kind of like categorizing Love, Death, and Robots.
Mm-hmm.
The hook was supposed to be, Red even said she started the presentation as like, I'll just find the good episodes. Then it's like, oh, well, that doesn't actually go anywhere. That would just all be my subjective opinion. And apparently there's a literal subreddit where people just post tier lists of Love, Death, Robots. And I'm just like, wow, how Reddit.
Yeah.
But like, it is an interesting episode. And I think if you haven't watched Love, Death, and the Robots, you should check it out. Because it's, I think actually like she said, Red does take a very genuine approach to kind of be like, hey, so sci-fi anthology is really important, but also, she kind of talked about, like, basically the way she described it is a lot of these episodes have the gross factor, which is just like, would I cringe watching this with my mom on the couch? And I'm like, no, Love, Death, and Robots, you're not wrong. Like, not just because occasionally there's full frontal nudity, which Red did classify as, like, the milder end, but also, like, some of these episodes are real gross, or really slimy and gory. And I'm like, yeah, no. And I think Blue even said that he, like, watched a couple of episodes that Red recommended to him, like, sitting in a cafe, drinking coffee, and I'm just like, yeah, no, like, not even the nudity parts. Some of the violence I would not watch, in a public cafe on a laptop screen. But yeah, no, anthologies are very interesting, and there's a lot to be said about that, talking about Star Wars Visions, but also it reminded me, we've talked about Love, Death, and Robots since, like, what I want to say, like, season 2, I think we started talking about it?
No, we were in there in season 1.
Were we in 1? God.
Yeah.
But there's such a long gap, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, the gaps are so long, and also, obviously Netflix is still funding them, so, like, they're interested, but the 4th season dropped, the 4th anthology dropped with, like, no fanfare. I literally didn't find out about it until, I think it was, like, a week or 2 later. I logged into Netflix, and Netflix was like, hey, here's the thing you might like, and I was like, Netflix, this came out 2 weeks ago. You've had multiple chances to tell me this was available. But it is interesting to kind of think about that kind of, like, Netflix hurdle of, like, it is similar with how anime cores are sometimes of, like, yeah, it takes them a while to come out with these shorts and to pick good short stories to pick from. Because most of them are based on short stories. So there is a huge gap between some of those seasons. And I could definitely see, like, even if you like Love, Death, and Robots, if you watch a couple of really good shorts in, like, the first season, and then you're waiting, like, 2 or 3 years for another season, you might start forgetting the Jones.
I am curious to see if we'll get another season of Secret Level, though. I would like that.
I feel like the Secret Level was successful enough for Amazon.
I was like, personally, I know a lot of people will have their tier list, and will have their tier lists and whatnot, but I always enjoy anthologies almost no matter what, because I get to see various creative minds trying to tell me a story in various amount of ways. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but I always appreciate the effort that has been put into them because you basically have to tell an interesting story in a very short amount of time, and different creators have different approaches to this.
Yeah, I think in general, Love, Death, and Robots is pretty good. The main thing that I think that everybody cottoned on to that seems like everybody doesn't like is the current season has like the 9th bonus episode is the weird Red Hot Chili Peppers music video, and that's all it is.
Oh, that's right. I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
That got the like head of Blur was on Corridor Digital's like side channel and talked about a few things. Did actually talk about mostly the secret level shorts they worked on, but did mention the thing. That gave me an interesting perspective on it, which is because they're all like animated to look like puppets. The Red Hot Chili Peppers thing is technically very interesting. They had to do a lot of cool tech stuff to get that animation. And it seemed like it was a kind of like passion project for everybody involved. Like the guy they got in to do the direction was like interested in doing that kind of thing. So it's not like it was like a money grab or anything. But I also still, I think, agree with the general populace that like it's a very unessential add to a anthology series that is otherwise usually about like actual like stories. Even the cutesy ones usually have a narrative tying them together. But it is interesting to see kind of like, I don't know, it felt like maybe it was kind of like a breather for like the studio and the writers and stuff and the team like involved. They're just like, oh, let's do this cool thing.
No, and that's why I try not to, like, again, people have their opinions and I can't stop people who have them in opinions, but I find that I am generally a lot more blasé, I guess it is about such things. I'd rather, just watch something that I can, maybe enjoy rather than getting into the nitty and gritty of, behind the scenes stuff, I suppose. I don't think I'm explaining this well. But unless Omega has anything else they want to add, I think we should probably move on.
No, we'll save that for, we've joked before about expanding our podcast horizons. We'll do a definitive anthology series, or maybe we'll just do a watch-along of Love, Death, and Robots some other time.
Yeah.
Because we really do love the anthology and like could probably talk about the concept forever. I do have one pin actually I do want to bring up. Not directly related, but you asked about Secret Level. Axe brought up in chat was their second season. I did double check it. Yes, Amazon announced they greenlit a second season basically immediately after the first season came out. Thanks, Amazon. Okay. However, don't expect it until 2027.
That's fine. I don't care. I did want to shout out one last thing because I did a quick double check of anime to see if there's anything I was interested. I did forget Sanda should be coming out next core, which is a really weird manga by Paru Itagaki of Beastars fame, which is I only read a little bit of it, but it's really fucking weird. I don't even want to describe it. It's just fucking weird, and I'm gonna watch it just to get the weirdness. Yes. But also, yes, the Chainsaw movie is going to be this fall, along with the Demon Slayers movie, I believe is coming up soon. Crunchyroll has actually been advertising tickets for the Demon Slayer movie. I think I would like to try and go see both of those in theaters. Like I said, the Chainsaw movie looks phenomenal, and so does the Demon Slayer movie. As we know, UFO Table is helming the Demon Slayer, so we're going to have some very good scenes, some very good CG. But we got Mappa on the Chainsaw Man movie, and watching the trailer, it is fucking hype as hell. I'll have to double check dates and times, but I'm gonna see if I can get out there. So, let us move it on to our next one. Rather, our last one. It comes from Agent 418, who says, "Dear Lucky Omega, have a good weekend, y'all. Thank you, my man, as always. I appreciate you showing up every week."
So thank you to all our mailbaggers.
Yeah.
Mailers.
Is that?
Letter writers.
There's
one podcasting channel I follow who talk about this, where they clearly define some stuff. You have regulation listeners, which is just you listen, and then comment leavers, if you leave comments. And they do have some funny discussions about it, like, no, if you leave a comment, you're a comment leaver forever. You did it. But yes, I will say, I don't really have any, like, a thesis about it, but I want to say it's interesting that we go through this week, and we have a decent number of mailbags at 6. That's kind of, I think, around our current average. But not a lot of, like biting questions. Most of it's just being like, hey, no question this week, just, woo! I appreciate it, but also it's interesting. It makes me wonder about kind of like how people are feeling. Like, will this time next week we have more questions, whether that's about JP stuff, which like literally just fired off this calendar day, or even the Wandjina event. Sorry, I'm trying to parse that one. X typed in chat, it's like being an organ donor, and I'm like, I guess? Do you not, like, opt out of being an organ donor? Well, yeah, if you donate, if the organ's donated, that is in fact, yes, past tense. Sorry, now I'm thinking about grammar. Wait, donor is, I think that is both present and past tense. You are a donor. You both donate and you have donated. English is gonna hurt my brain. Let's do free talk.
Lucky was Jacob thinking of lewd jokes, and I am going to refrain from saying them.
So, the free talk square, it's like free parking, but better, because free parking is nothing.
I don't know, free parking is hella something, as I see more and more fucking meters and fucking, pay by the hour parking lots showing up. Jesus.
Well, I guess in that context, the original Monopoly Square is also supposed to be that, but it is... People like to house rule free parking a lot. That's all house rules. That's not how free parking works. It's just a literal free space. But thinking about it, it probably is supposed to be reflective of the fact that it's a pain in the ass to park in real life.
Especially in major cities.
Well, admittedly, Monopoly is kind of predicated on the concept that, like, almost everywhere single else you quote-unquote park, you get charged a lot of money for.
Yar.
If you... It's like... Actually, hey, chat, sorry, this is completely unrelated to free talk, but I've just invented the gritty reboot Monopoly movie, Netflix original, coming this fall. It's a horrible, like, bet game where you get a bunch of millionaires together, and it's like, they're just walking around the city, and the rule is, if you stop walking for any reason, you have to go and stay there. You are forced at gunpoint, otherwise the heart attack bomb we've placed in your body will go off. You have to go in and spend a night in that hotel, because that's how fucking Monopoly works. You can't not. You have to. Who says so? Uncle Moneybags. Cox revolver. She's at Pennybags or Moneybags? I don't know. Anyway, that's completely unrelated. Let's talk about Nemo Noah. Nemo 2!
2!
If Nemo's so good, why didn't he get a sequel?
Well, he did.
So, Nemo/Noah. Noah is a higher attack, lower HP looking writer. He's SSR writer, so that all tracks. Not to either extreme, but does seem to be a little, like I said, a little more offensive weighted. And funny enough, especially because we were talking about this with Kirky, has a caster style deck, 3 arts cards, 1 quick, 1 buster.
Rad.
We're just going all in on it. He's got pretty high hit counts too. So low NP gain as a result. I believe he's 0.38 on NP gain, but he's like 5.44 or something. And you got 3 arts cards, so you'll be making arts chains like nobody's business. So that's cool. NP is AoE arts, gives himself 50% damage up versus Giant, which I believe this trait does already exist or will exist soon with a David NP bump. But if you don't know, the Giant trait is just tall guys, I think.
I'm pretty sure Arthur Pendragon has something against that right now.
I believe that Arthur's Giant Slaying started with Super Large, because I want to point out, Super Large and Giant are not the same trait. 2 separate traits. Because Noah has both.
Oh, okay.
Noah has buffs against both. The Giant trait, I believe, like I said, is just tall guys, like Darius 3 counts as a quote-unquote Giant, but not a Super Large.
Oh.
I do think there may be some servants, like King Protea, who are both Giant and Super Large. So you might be able to get double trait action. But it's 50% damage up for 1 turn first versus both Giant and Super Large. So there's probably going to be several mobs and, like I said, a decent number of servants who count. After firing, gives the whole party 10% NP battery, and gives 10% more NP battery for animal servants. Not animal trait servants. The animal category of servants encompasses all servants who have the wild beast, demonic beast, or animal characteristic traits, except for what the wiki refers to as a certain unit. I can only assume the certain unit is Draco.
Why are we being so weird with traits?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess calling it animal is, like, easier than one of these specifically, but, like, I want to say it's not even, like, a category. It's literally, like, it's not like a trait. It's literally a category because it's just everybody who falls into these 3 traits except for one certain unit. And it's like, okay. By the way, hey, Noah has a lot to do with this animal category because of the arc, chat. If you don't get it, it's the arc. Save the animals. But yeah, animal servants get 10% more battery, so they get 20% total. Overcharge is just NP damage up first for 1 turn. Pretty simple stuff. Noah's first skill is a pre-buffed Voyager of the Storm. So it's already, Voyager of the Storm, but better. 10 to 20% NP damage up and attack up for the party for 3. Also gives the party 1 time 3 turns of +1 overcharge. And also, the attack gain is doubled for animal servants. It's a further 10 to 20%. It removes all debuffs from animal servants and gives all animal servants a 1k to 2k heal based on your level. So, like, he's already got a good Voyager of the Storm variant, but also, it does, like, 3 more things for animal synergy.
Great.
Second skill is his version of Protection of the Faith. It's another EX. So it's a 50 to 100% debuff resistance on self for 3 turns, a 1k to 2k heal on self, but also a 500 to 1000 heal per turn. So you're getting big heals and then healing per turn. 30 to 50% battery, that's right. This is an arts AoE looper with 50% battery. He's Widowy him. But it also gives the rest of your team 10 to 20% battery. Guess what? No, 10% if you're animal. 30% total. Final skill is 20 to 30% arts up on self for 3 turns, with a further 10 to 20% arts up if an animal servant is on the field, or an animal character.
Jesus.
This includes, by the way, allies and enemies.
Oh.
He has a 3-turn blue mana burst if you set it up correctly. Also, gain 3 to 6 stars when attacking with an arts card for 3 turns. So not a huge star inclusion, but does make up for the fact that he only has 1 quick and 1 buster for star gen normally. 2 hits, 3 turns invul. That's right, this is a guy who has 100% debuff resist, a 2k self-heal, and also has a hard defense. But also, wait, there's more!
Is this
Crit up
just
for
the
3
Shadow
turns.
I'm sorry, is this just the Shadow Tamamo buff?
Maybe. She is an arts caster, and you do want to put her in your Noah team. Because I know she's an animal trait servant. Because she's got fox ears. But like, so Noah gets a crit buff up for 3 turns. The value of this crit buff is technically flat. It's not affected by skill level, but it starts at 50%, plus an additional 25% for every animal trait, every animal, category person on the field. Once again, counting both allies and enemies. So you can get crazy high, stonks on this crit up. Just like, so much extra bullshit. Passives are just riding A, magic resistance B, and independent action EX, so crits hit pretty hard all the time, and a divinity B. This guy was on the throne of Grand Rider for a while. He introduces himself as such. It shows. This is a Grand Servant kit. This is like when you rolled up and saw Super Orion or RQ and were like, oh, holy shit. Except instead of Romans, this guy's animals. 2 of every animal.
It does seem like our Grands usually have a very specific niche that they hit very, very well.
Yes. And I do think that is technically, if I understand how the lore goes, that is kind of how that's supposed to work. Like, you don't just get to be grand by being really powerful, you get a grand by having one weird trick that beasts hate. Like, admittedly, some of their gimmicks are more broader than others. Super Orion's gimmick is, I am the Solo Man. But he does get damage up versus demonic beasts, and his crit potential is some of the stonkiest in the world. But, like, Romulus Queerness does crazy stuff by turning all your allies and enemies Roman. Merlin was our original, save for broken-ass servant, even though he's not really the Grandcaster, but he qualified. Honestly, Gramps was a little underperforming, but they patched him. As a proud old man of the mountain owner, Gramps is pretty scary. You start teaming him up with some Koyans of Light, whoo baby. Why don't you double check? The chat asking about Indra. Indra is, I think, technically a broad AoE attacker, but I'm pretty sure he has some trait damages. Oh well, also he's got that. No, sorry, I looked at his NP, which is, that's AoE quick. Remove all enemies' buffs first, recover own HP by 3k. Yes. The niche is, I don't die. He does get bonus damage versus the Serpent or Dragon trait and the Demonic trait. And talking about color buffs, has a very funny tricolor buff. Indra's pretty good. I gotta say, I do kind of feel like Indra doesn't feel as dummy crazy as, like Super Orion felt, like Nemo Noah feels. And people did bill Romulus 2.0 this way. People were like, this is crazy. We'll never outdamage this guy ever. And then he kind of fell off. I don't think it's such that he was outdamaged. It's just that, doing his gimmick was very specific and linear, and so people were, looking for more general uses. Indra probably is a little more generally applicable than, Nemo Noah. But on the other hand, Nemo Noah is like you said, just stick a Tamamo in his back pocket and again, crazy performance. Also solves a problem that we've talked about that Tamamo specifically has, which is that it takes her a while to get her NP going. If you fire all of Noah's skills and his NP, Tamamo gets like a free, like, 50% NP already.
Yeah.
Because it's 20% total from his NP and 30% total from his battery.
No, so you can probably get some Tamamo refund, at least in the initial bit. I don't know how good he is. Like, he's probably pretty good at looping, especially if you put a Castoria in there, but that's not maximizing your animals in there. I'm curious what else.
Yeah, the problem right now for looking this up is because, like I said, animal seems to be a category rather than a specific trait. The way the wiki has it discussed is like, oh, animal is everybody who falls into these categories. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but like, how do I look up these servants? Like, I can click giant and the game will list everybody who's coded with the giant trait. But let's see. So let me open all three of these tabs. So let's see. Wild Beast, several servants. You've got specifically just Koyan of Dark, not of Light, funnily enough, not a Wild Beast. But you've got, units like Nikit, Lobo, both Huyan's count, Cat counts, funnily enough. Lohi's like 3rd Ascension counts. Shitload of enemies are Wild Beasts, like basically all snakes, demonic boars, most like Ugalu type guys, lion-looking guys. Demonic Beast is a lot more of a servant trait, but that's got classics. All your Tamamos appear to count. Both Tiamat's count, Gorgon counts, both Melusines count, if you're setting up some other funny arts matches up.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
Some are, actually both Ibukis count as Demonic Beast. Like I said, both Koyans count as Demonic Beast, not just Wild Beast.
Oh man, so that means a fucking team of, actually, no, I'll have to double check. I would like to see what happens if I put in Summer, Ibuki, Noah, and Tamamo. What can I make happen?
Well, you're getting a lot of free NP, and several of those guys have batteries. Summer Bargist also counts. I think both Bargists count as Demonic Beast, obviously. And then the animal characteristics is way looser, because that's like basically having animal ears. So, like, a lot of people we've already mentioned count, but that's where you also get the funny shit where, like, hey, guess what? Summer Tenochtitlan counts when she's got her bunny ears on. 3rd Ascension Avenger Chloe counts, kind of a thing. Kyokoyo is an animal characteristic servant only when she's a dinosaur. That kind of shit. So, like, that's a lot of people. Also, I do see at the bottom of animal characteristics is Draco. I bet she is the one who is excluded from Noah's buffs. It does make sense. They are fighting an arcade. I'm also pretty sure God wouldn't tell Noah to keep that one. Gotta be real.
Kick it off the boat.
But, like, that's, there's so many funny ones in there. Many of whom are, like, arts wombo comboers. Like, if you put, Saber Shiki in her, bunny costume, she counts, kind of shit. So, like, there's a lot of funny things you can do. Well, let's see. Hold on, I gotta double check. What are... Oh, shit. BB Dubai is arts? She's got an Ascension that counts. Because her 3rd one is vaguely Moon Rabbit. So, yeah. Not only is Noah a huge hitter, like I said, he's got a 50% self-battery, an up to, like, 50%, like, a blue mana burst, all that extra charisma and shit, and also has 2 trait damages on his AoE NP, so he's a great sweeper, but also, so many dumb team comps are opened up. Like, really feels like a one in there. Also, yes, I think that Ascension of Summer Castoria counts. Actually, I don't see it in a listed Berserker, so maybe she doesn't have the animal trait. Ruler Summer Artoria counts.
Interesting.
Because she's in bunny ears all the time. But yeah, so the fact that it also accounts for the Wild Beast trait, which is, like I said, fairly limited. There's like only a couple rows of servants that count, but there are lots of enemy mobs that count, can help you with farming and stuff. Hey, if you're talking about just, again, general team comp, with arts guys, like I said, both Melus count. Ritra has animal characteristics. Miss Crane counts. Yeah, the traits are very funny. So it really does seem to be for the quote-unquote animal characteristics is just, do you have either animal ears straight up or have some other funny animal feature? Horns seem to count, or otherwise, stuff going on. Maybe if you have weird elf ears. It is interesting that they don't always lock it to specific ascensions or costumes. Because, like, technically King Protea only has, like, the one ascension where she's got, the animal horns, or the demonic beast type horns, but all King Proteas count as animal characteristic servant. I guess Airavata's supposed to be an elephant, and so he's always in there somewhere. But yeah, no. Noah fucking slaps. Thumbs up. No notes.
Thumbs up.
Alright. We're back.
We're back.
Short intermission there. But okay, alright. That's Nemo Noah. And if you don't know why it's Nemo Noah and not just Noah, you can do a little reading about Arcade sometime. I think they may actually have alluded to it in Lilum Harlot. Because at least they described how every singularity was, especially the ones that were goofed up. Anyway, let's carve out some time in the Free Talkium.
Yeah.
To talk about Great Spirits World Tour, first impressions, a couple chapters in, so we're very firsty. And yeah, I did kind of mention this earlier. I feel like this event didn't leave necessarily like a super deep mark on the fandom. Like, people didn't immediately go, man, this event sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But also I haven't heard people for 2 years being like, oh man, just wait till the Wandjina event.
No, I think the Wandjina event, I don't want to say suffers, but it's somewhat overshadowed that we just came off of, Summer Annie.
Mm-hmm. And it is, at least if you've done the summer event, I don't know if the dialogue is different elsewhere, it is supposed to be kind of a follow-up, but also feels like it's written loosely enough that they could still do the story, even if somehow you didn't do the summer event.
Yeah.
There was a little intro video, which was cool. We're talking about our production values going up. But yeah, it's...
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I felt earlier to say, it's kind of a mild-mannered event. It's not, like, bad, and it's not, like, really, like, difficult to digest or anything, but it's there, it's here, it's nice, but it's not like, Billy Badass or anything. There are a couple of memorable memes. The running Holy Grail is pretty funny. I'm kind of surprised it took us this long to do that, but yeah, Holy Grail with legs.
Holy Grail with jet boots.
Otherwise, it kind of
slightly when I saw that.
Yes, no, that was a one I was like, all right, how are we going to get out of this one? And it's like, jet booster. And we're like, oh. Kind of seems like it's going to generally follow the format of, like, because it is supposed to be a grand tour kind of a thing, is, we're going to show up someplace, fight some guys, interact with some servants, try to catch this Holy Grail, and then probably move on.
Yeah.
So I am kind of curious as to, like, how we're going to keep, quote-unquote, escalating. Escalation is not always literal in storytelling, but how we're going to escalate the stakes when we're already at jet boots. We're already at outran a speeding Babbage train as Yagyu, speed cuts 3 enemies down before Da Vinci can even read the bridge report.
That was a nifty little thing. I kind of wish we might have explained those kind of things earlier in the game, though. That's one of those things you kind of have to figure out, on your own, about being able to switch targets with attacks.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Especially because this event only takes a Fuyuki clear. If you're really relatively new, you may not realize how to get through that challenge. But yeah, it was a cute case where, like, you got one turn, figure out how to do it, and you start with full NP, and I'm kind of like thinking, I'm like, okay, so I could do this, that, the other thing, I could definitely kill that guy, and then I'm like, well, I switch targets twice. I'm like, wait, no, don't be foolish.
No, it's just Buster MP Buster. If you slam all of his skills, you'll have crits. You can do it pretty fucking easy. Didn't even get to his extra attack on it. But it was still neat. I liked the little bit of thought put into it. Like, I like this event because, like I said, we have an eclectic cast of characters. Everyone who's, race ship compatible is, we got the weirdos, because we got Krem, we got Yagyu, we got, Aris and Voyager. We also got Taisui and
specifically Altera the Santa.
Yeah.
With Doomsweet. Freeloader.
I like Doomazit's humor. I really do.
No, I like him as a character. It's just funny that he gets to tag along when he's not a summonable unit.
But no, Gordolf was looking at the lineup and assigning them family roles, and Krem is just like,
Yes, no, that was really good. That they like. I appreciate when even if it's a short story like this, can basically go, okay, here's a cast of characters. If you don't get it, allow me to spell it out. Mash is the dependable big sister.
And she has run with it.
And she immediately was like, yes, he immediately takes her role and goes for it. That means that, Altera gets to be the second sister, who's a little weird. And Edis, unfortunately, gets blasted with being the youngest sister who thinks she's dependable. Though I think that is actually, like, that is kind of actually part of, like, Edise's character, is that, like, she is a kid. I think she's, like, 14 in the start of Requiem. Not that it matters a whole lot, because, like, Emiyashiro like, what, fucking 17? 16? I think he's 17, because we talked about he's, like, in the middle of his high school years. But, yeah. Like, but, you know, she's supposed to be not, like, super mature, but also she gets paired with, you know, Voyager, who's, like, the little prince boy. Even though that space probe is technically older than Edise is.
Yeah. It's fine, though.
Yeah.
I do like that as you reshift, you basically, you reshift to Sydney. Everyone immediately wants to go sightseeing, but Krim has to be, you know, the dependable parental figure and rein them all in, even though she says we can go sightseeing afterwards. And you basically immediately run into Wandjina, and I did not actually understand, like, these couple years, how actually cute she is. Especially when she's interacting with, Voyager and Taisui. No, it's great. Even Erase is just all like, I am experiencing an overwhelming amount of wholesome right now. I can't even. And I'm just like, Erase, I'm right with you there, girl.
Yeah, so immediately Wandjina blasts down from above and is just like, hey, wow, great. It's so great to see you again after so long. It's me, Wandjina. We don't even bat an eyelash that she's not, like, a mysterious sky force anymore.
I don't know how long we've been doing this, you know, this long-ass journey, but we have seen some shit. I think very little surprises us now.
Yeah. But no, she has a very sweet interaction because, like, it is kind of funny to, like, there are occasional asides where, you know, there's a chance to, like, expound a little bit more, and certainly, Da Vinci and Gordolf do, like, kind of uncork a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, she's just generally like, oh yeah, never been to Earth before. You know, always watching. Really great to catch up, but love people. It's great. And so, you know, she immediately kind of, like, joins up to help us out. We get what I think is actually supposed to be a pretty funny callback to the original Servant Summer Fez, where we're immediately attacked for no reason by Double X.
Yeah.
Even to the point where you can get some asides about, I think this space detective has lost the plot a little bit. But that's okay, because after we bonk Double X, she comes out of her armor, and then she just says some Servant Universe shit, and we just have to go with it.
It's true.
I still don't understand exactly how the Servant Universe is supposed to work, but I get that it is kind of kind of originally with MHX comes from an April Fool's joke, so it's kind of supposed to be a little meta, but she jokes about how, like, yeah, you know, while I was off doing other stuff, there were some episodes in, like, the second season where you came up, Wandjina, and did some stuff, and I'm just like, huh? It feels like a specific sort of joke reference, but I didn't catch where it was from. But it also could just be that, like, that is just how Double X lives her life. She just is in a TV show. But so there's some other weird stuff going on with Wandjina that we don't really interrogate, because we just decide to walk the streets of Sydney because there's a Holy Grail present that we got to solve.
We gotta get ice cream first.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? I think we even talk about that we could probably arrange, like, a fly, or, like, we could run. But it was definitely kind of a thing where it's just like, well, we could just stroll, you know, in the direction Wandjina says. Enemies just kind of, like, gravitate toward us on the street, so, you know, we solve problems as we go. As you say, we get a little ice cream interlude, which is, again, very funny because, like, we didn't mention it, but Yagyu got pegged as, you know, the weird old grandpa.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there is another character in FGO who is more quirky grandpa than Yagyu, other than possibly Muramasa, but he doesn't look like a grandpa.
Oh, I think Yagyu is the weird grandpa, because you look at him and you wouldn't think he's the weird grandpa.
Yeah, he looks like he's dead serious, and when he puts on his game face, when he's doing sword shit in, like, in the Grand Canyon arc, like, he is so competent that even... it's a little hurtful, but they couldn't have done anything about it, but seeing Old Man Moriarty there.
Yeah.
But, like, even Old Man Moriarty is just like, oh, wow, I'm really impressed, Mr. Samurai.
Mr. What does it say, like, Grandpapa Samurai or something?
Yes.
But, Yagyu is the one who does the weird things, you know, he cracks jokes, does weird things, plays games, will use the simulator just to go on food tours. No, he's super fucking weird, and I love him for it.
Even in this, you see it immediately with the, like you said, he does crack some jokes when we're assigning family roles. He just kind of takes it on the chin. I think the only one who kind of objects is Kremhild, because I feel like like Gordolf wanted to say she was the mother, but realized if he said that, he was going to die. Kriemhild is a berserker.
Like,
she would have blown up
on you.
everyone in the room and herself. So, he calls her the guardian, which I think kind of works because there are times where she kind of feels like the strict nanny, but she is in the parent role. But Yagi cracks jokes, and then we get to the ice cream scene. He's just got like 2 scoops, and he's just like, oh shit, should have gone for 3. I'm just imagining this old Japanese man just kind of like, ho ho, I knew I should have gone for the 3 scoops. And you can be like, want to trade? He's like, yeah.
No, Yaki was great.
Mm-hmm. And he wanted the macho. Meanwhile, Kriemhild is just... I want to say this event's great for Kriemhild because we get to see her... She's still a berserker, and, like, there's definitely moments where, like, you can tell that, like, people are pushing her buttons. But I'd have to double check. I'm pretty sure Kriemhild has met his enhancement EX. She's only really mad about Siegfried and or killing Siegfried. So...
Which is only at odds about how much she loves him, which is hilarious.
Yes. Because, I mean, Kriemhild is basically the same character archetype as Brynhildr, just, filtered through a slightly different version of the story. So, Bryn, who is not normally a berserker, but is also real fucked up, Kriemhild is kind of, like, in a similar way, but also I feel like gets to be more normal.
I don't know. I feel like, it's not exactly right, but I feel like, Brynhild is kind of more, what we'd say yandere, while Kriemhild is more tsundere.
I think especially with, like, original flavor Lancer Bryn, that's very true, yes. Like, her trial quest was, like, super yandere coded. Yeah. Kriemhild is definitely a tsundere, where, like, literally, like, Blackbeard says some stuff later. By the way, spoilers, Blackbeard's in this event.
We kill him, as is good and proper.
Yeah, it's great, yeah. But Blackbeard says some stuff, and she's just like... I think she says something about, like, he's like, I'll take any punishment you'll give me. And she's like, anything, huh? And he's like, except for these things. And she's just like, I don't care anymore. That's not interesting. I'm done. Yeah, like she pivots back. Because she does have, on that element, the important thing about yandere or kudere types or tsundere's chat, the way it works is you have to have the dere. You have to have the kind of, like, cute, lovey-dovey, a little bit of the ugu phase. And Kremna's not, like, super cutesy, but she does have her kind of cute moments. Like with the ice cream. Like, her only reaction is just, like, I think she's eating, like, mocha is just like, ooh, neat. Mm-hmm.
Well, again, I always do, like, again, this is one of those reasons why I like these small events where we can just get, like, little interactions with servants being more normal, especially after we've seen them, act a particular way in, like, their main event. Like, in Trom, Krem was, our enemy for most of the time until, like, the very last moment. And you're just all like, shit, I want more of that. And we got a little bit of it during summer. It's one of the reasons I really cannot wait for this year's summer.
Yeah, summer Kremhild's gonna add a lot more to that, I'm sure.
That's gonna be amazing. I am so ready for Sharkfried. Give me a Sharkfried costume. Give that to me.
But yeah, it's good to see her, and it's like, it is interesting that, for instance, we use the summer Aris as opposed to regular NSA. But I think it fits a little better with kind of like where the continuity is going. It's also good to see Taisui. Like, the boy's real head empty, no thoughts.
I love him, though.
But it's good to see him, and it's good to see him hanging out with people, like Gordolf, locks in him and Voyager as the brothers, and immediately they're down for it. They're fucking, high-fiving and shit.
If I remember correctly, during the event, I think there was a special quest where Voyager and Taisui were hanging out. So I think their friendship has been canonical, I would say.
I believe so, yes. But this event is a really good chance to kind of show it, and also to show Taisui interacting with other people. I have absolutely no earthly idea what we decided to bring back specifically Santa Altera, other than maybe to get Dumuzu involved. But that's also, like, crazy. I haven't seen Altera the Santa in years. But she gets her... I mean, they do the fucking meme again. It's been so long, but she's just like, I see some good civilization ahead. And Krem's like... Or is it Arise who's like, what? Yeah, I think it's Arise who's just like, what did you say? Oh, it's just an ice cream shop.
Arise is kind of the straight woman here, but also Voyager has no problem just picking out her faults at any moment. No, we have a lot of good dynamics in here, and I am excited to see where this story goes.
Yeah, because I also want to say I am glad that they don't do the obvious thing where just, like, we have to fight all the servants we see in each little vignette. Like, we do that at first because we run into Blackbeard who finds the Holy Grail, and, like, Anne and Mary try to fucking con him out of it.
Yeah. I do
And then
believe
it
this is
turns
a rogue
to-
Ian and Mary, though, because they don't know who you are. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
not yet. I think it
Blackbeard.
was
Blackbeard
was there
just
summer
exists on a
versions?
multiple.
I think Blackbeard is Blackbeard, yes. He talks about his pirate ways. He also talks about how he's been planning this for years, because the pirate girls, the Yuri pirates, cotton him into, well, why don't you wish for your perfect woman? And he's just like, I'm ready. I've prepared my whole life for this. I can envision my perfect woman in 0.01 seconds.
And manifest her in 0.07. Let's go.
And they're just like, wow. But no, it's great. I also like that we are so used to Blackbeard that, like, Blackbeard's like, hold on, I'm going to switch into serious pirate mode. And we're just like, everybody, get Blackbeard. He's going to switch into serious pirate mode.
Blackbeard's just like, shit, how'd you know?
And he gets stunned the first turn. And he's like, oh, shit, you saw my surprise attack. And I'm like, brother, I've been hanging out with you all summer. Again.
He's my bro beard, but I will not hesitate to kill him.
I mean, it's the same thing as, like, Voyager and Ares, right? It's like,
yeah.
Blackbeard's great, but also, you gotta be like, Blackbeard, man, come on. And then when we get to the Grand Canyon, we have an entirely different one. First of all, very funny moment, we're talking about all the beautiful wild animals you can encounter, and then Mash is also like, oh, also, by the way, everybody watch out, there's poisonous rattlesnakes, and then Aresa's like, we're like servants, and Master is immune to poison because of you, so, like, I don't think we have to worry?
We immediately have to worry.
Mash gets a little embarrassed, because she was just like, I just imagining Mash, like, tucking her little guidebook back into her shield,
Oh, yeah.
But then, yes, like even Kremhild kind of, like, diffuses the situation by saying, like, well, I do think it'd be cool to hear a rattlesnake rattle, and then immediately there's a giant fucking snake. It's an Orochi.
What do they call it? A rattle Orochi?
Yes, yeah, that's what his text box title is.
Snake.
And then
But
we
yes,
run into the Chaldean versions of Moriarty, Fran, and Babbage, because apparently Old Man Moriarty illicitly used transformer to train mode to get in the
illegally
singularity.
ray shifted. Da Vinci is immediately mad.
Yes, like there's even, I think, a subtitle beat where it's just like he just admitted to a major crime, and then Da Vinci's like, "You're gonna hear about this. We're gonna put you in the cell, and you're gonna have to tell us how much you regret your deeds." And he's just like, "Yes." I bet it was Fran's idea somehow.
It probably was Fran. Those two are completely weak against her, especially when she's in her summer mode.
Yeah. But yeah, so we see all of them, and we get to get the recurring of those jokes.
Yep, we get to do an interesting thing where Yagyu, stands on top of a train, cuts down enemies. It was part of the special battle. I do like the effect that they did with the battle with the speed lines to indicate you're going super fast, but I kind of wish that we maybe got a mechanical Babbage underneath the speed as well. Maybe a little bit too much work, but...
Yeah, I think the main thing is just, like, well, it's been existing before, and I think it was in some of the CMs for that summer event. I don't know if Train Babbage has ever had, like, a lot of, like, art, and definitely hasn't had any, like, sprites or models before.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I'm sure if they got him, I'm pretty sure that's Pfzils. I don't know how to pronounce their name. It's all capitals with consonants. But he does a lot of the mecha-ass designs for FGO, and I'm pretty sure he's Babbage's artist. I bet they could get him to draw Babbage as a train, and like I said, I'm pretty sure there was a version of him in the CM, but like I said, I don't know if they've ever actually had like an in-FGO engine model or sprite to use of the train Babbage, which could be cool, but also is like one of those things that's just like, do we need to waste time on that? Well, not waste time, but spend time on it, like we have other stuff we're doing, like drawing holy grails to have rocket boots.
I guess that's important. Sure.
It's something, alright. Certainly shocking. But yeah, so, and there was also a really cool, like, when we started the train mission, there was a really cool cut-in screen where we did the speed lines behind everybody's, portraits coming together.
Yeah.
Real cool stuff. So I'm kind of interested to see, like, what tonight's, jump will be. But yeah, it's a good event so far.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Like I said, this wouldn't be an event that I would hype up to people, like, if, you're playing and you're like, oh man, you should have seen the Wandjina event. It was crazy. But it's good writing. Once again, reminding that absolutely, if we, well, I shouldn't even say if, whenever we get around to sunsetting FGO, the app as it is now, like I said, we don't know exactly what we're going with that, but like, please, archive mode with all the stories unlocked. Like,
yes,
some of these little events are really good, and if you weren't playing, you don't got them. Not just the main interlude shit, but also like other stuff. Straight up, if you don't like, I don't think this event does anything to kind of commentate on who Taisui is, for instance. So if you missed the Trunk Sisters Island event, you're just like, this guy's just here now. But yeah, event's pretty good. Sorry, I tabbed over to Audacity to check the mission clock, and as I tabbed back, it did that thing that it always does, where it calculates how much remaining disk time I have, and I was like, what did that say? It says enough space remaining for 110 hours of recording and 18 minutes. I was like, 10 hours? And I'm like, no. My hard drives aren't that stuffed. But yes, I think that brings an end to free talk for now. I'm sure we'll have more complete thoughts next week, like I said. But that means it's time for What's Up, where we can kind of talk about whatever.
Whatever time! Yeah, so unfortunately, we're probably done with FGO for this week, so we're going to be talking about basically whatever else is going on in our lives right now, which Megan usually starts a list with. What's on the list?
It's pretty short this week. Like, once again, I mentioned earlier, I'm part of it was the having my power out so they could work on the electrical box and the generator. Like, I feel like that kind of really ruffled my rhythm, because that was the day that Monday, my wrist and elbow were a little sore, so I was like, okay, we'll relax, we'll take it easy. We're streaming Death Stranding later, I don't gotta be on the driver's seat in that. I won't, blow out my bones writing on anything. So that did put me in a little bit of a work crunch to get the Wanted out by, like, midnight, when it rolled over to Thursday. And we'll talk more about Rain later.
Oh, definitely.
And that one I'm, like, super jammed in on, so I haven't done a lot of other, like, individual things to really get into. I feel like we should at least acknowledge that it happened. And you did stream Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
But Silksong came out. It happened.
Yep. The meme is dead. The clown mask is put away.
Yeah, now I think people are already gearing up that at least certain outlets, the new clown mode meme is Insomniac's Wolverine game.
Oh.
That one I feel like is a little different than Silksong, because I feel like Silksong got quite a lot of press hype, and like at one point was being like, I don't know if it was actually going to be like Xbox exclusive, but Xbox was kind of like, using that exclusive marketing on it, and then it kind of quietly faded into the background, and then it came back, and we were like, it's here. Jeff Keighley was there to straight up be like, release date. Then it's like $20, I think.
It's very affordable.
Which is cool, because it does seem like there's some content in there. Axe, who I know has been playing it because Steam rats him out, is talking about, like, the initial parts kind of feel like it was originally like a, 8-hour DLC on a Metroidvania, which sounds about right for a game like Hollow Knight, and then it just kind of, like, keeps expanding when clearly you can, this is not how he put it, but this is how I'm putting it, you can clearly see the part where the scope creep came in, and they were like, oh shit, we've made too much game. It's gotta be its own game now. Many such cases. But I'm glad that it seems like people are enjoying it. It led to a lot of memes. First of all, I think that like Silksong's release like basically crashed everybody's storefront for a day or an afternoon. Like Steam's purchasing backend went down. I think PS Store and Xbox Store both had like major load issues. Mm-hmm. Don't know if Nintendo eShop was also scrungled, but Nintendo
I think it was
also
a little
probably
scrungled in the beginning, if I remember correctly.
Nintendo probably has the money to put a couple extra servers in their eShop. That seems like a thing they would do. Not that I think Sony and Xbox don't, but definitely I feel like their servers are probably more like multiplayer. But yeah, and then also there was just like you do whenever I think a big, not even just like meme game, but like a big like tentpole type game comes out, you see so many jokes about so-called free thinkers when blah 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 comes out, and it's just a list of everybody's Steam friends or everybody's Nintendo friends, and it's just them all playing the same game. So like,
well, Silksong has been super hyped for it. I'll probably play it eventually, like I eventually played Hollow Knight, but it's not something that I think is directly in my scope. I do like Metrovanias, but they're not my main.
From what I've heard, they've done some interesting technical stuff. It's one of those things where like people have talked about, like I've heard a few asides that some people are kind of like, oh yeah, the early game's kind of easy, and I'm just like, obviously to me, whenever I feel like when it's so weird because I don't think of myself as like a super casual gamer. Like I have done some games that are challenging, and I have genres that I enjoy with more challenge. But I feel like the reputation certain games have for being hard is more of a turnoff to me in the past, 5 years or so. So like when I hear people say like, oh well, it's like, oh, the intro's too easy. I'm like, that sounds like there's a good ramp on process for people who are maybe not super experienced. But also I think some of those people are thinking that because they've probably been either they've literally just finished Hollow Knight. I see so many people like streamers and stuff and just other general Twitter heads who are just like, oh yeah, since Silksong is actually coming out, I decided to finally beat Hollow Knight. So Lucky, you weren't the last person to beat Hollow Knight in the world.
I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised.
I know, but it happens. But also I feel like a lot of people are coming off either playing Hollow Knight for the first time or replaying Hollow Knight or having been replaying Hollow Knight for years. So, like, yeah, of course this game that was pitched as either originally probably a DLC that could be interacted with at not the end game of Hollow Knight, like I don't think it was necessarily intended as an end game DLC, or they adjusted the experience to be standalone. Of course that's going to feel different. It's like we said with like Death Stranding 2, right? Like you and me even just watching you replay Death Stranding 1, mentally, we were probably a lot more prepared for Death Stranding 2 than some other people because we were already like refreshing ourselves on that Death Stranding 1 experience.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, yeah, of course it's the sequel doesn't hit the same difficulty because, one, they give you a lot more tools, right? Literally the first actual mission of the game, they're like, Sam, here is a gun. Go. Do a delivery. just imagining fucking... I need a meme edit of Lou handing you the Mazer pistol and just being like, go, deliver a package. But like... Also, when you're just in the mindset of, like, traversal, like, again, literally watching you play Death Stranding 1 again a little before DS2 came out, when I started playing DS2, I'm like, okay, so, brace myself, look for good footing, oh, here's a good place to put a ladder, that kind of stuff, Like, so it's gonna be a different read. But yeah, it came out, and, like, as much as you and I were not, like, part of the Giga Hype / Giga Cope crew, I'm glad the game's good. People seem to like it.
No, it's always good when a game's good.
I know it's sometimes it feels a little shocking to hear that from us because I do feel like there are some corners where like we do talk about how like it is a little insufferable to us sometimes, like people yapping about Bloodborne PC port or like how like incandescent, how like cold fusion the hype around GTA 6 is. But like we're not gonna complain if GTA 6 is good.
No,
I will be pleasantly surprised if GTA 6 is really good. I'll also have to qualify it by, like, if it's actually really good or if it's just, like, really pretty and people just, like, haven't played an actual GTA in, like, 10 years because GTA Online is, like, weird. Not that the weird is bad in GTA Online, it's just, it's very different to play a game with transformable subcars and the flying DeLorean car and, like, jetpacks and shit and two underground bunkers you can buy. It's a thing we talked about, mostly on stream about, like, some of the people talking about, like, the Saints Row thing, and it's, like, I think genuinely the wacky, quirky part of Saints Row, but also doing crimes, just became GTA Online.
It really did.
I'm pretty sure you can buy, like, 5 VTOLs in GTA Online, chat. There's a literal tilt rotor, because they put in one of the heist chains, they put a fucking unlock for, an off-brand Osprey, and all kinds of other, shit. But yeah, like, it's entirely interesting to think about, like, where GTA 5 started and, like, how cool that was, and then what GTA Online is.
Yeah.
But no, if GTA 6 is good, we'll think it's good, so yeah. But yeah, so Silksong came out. The only other thing, like, that I have regularly been doing is what the rest of the group has been regularly doing is, like, other than, like, feverishly watching the mod list for Vintage Story update / adding 5 new mods to the Vintage Story mod list we're building.
I think I have like 57-something mods in my game right now. I haven't written them all down yet, but there's a lot of shit, guys. There's a lot of shit.
No, like, I haven't actually been playing single player Vintage Story, but I have been thinking again about booting up another new world with, like, some of the other mods we've been planning to test, and, like, I think my mod list would be that long if I did all the compatibilities. Like,
yes,
there's a lot of stuff I want to look at still. But, like, we're slowly waiting on that one. The thing is what you mentioned earlier is we've been playing Abiotic Factor still. I still want to say Abiotic Factor is a pretty good game. And I think I personally did kind of crystallize something I want to say that, like, when we had to go through the section before last, the security station, that I think it has a pretty interesting gameplay curve where, like, it pitches you a new zone, right?
Yeah.
With some new shit, and then almost always immediately throws some stuff up in front of you, and it's like, okay, you got to go back to wherever your base is and, like, figure out these resources.
Yes.
I will say, yeah, you saying that, like, I can see how the resource grind is a little draining. It's something I was thinking about, like, in comparison, because I was thinking about, like, wow, we have spent a decent amount of time playing Abiotic this week. What have we done? Well, we've done a pretty decent amount, but there are also some lulls where you just kind of, like, I don't know if it feels like a grind to me always, but, like, there are parts of Abiotic where it's just, like, you go heads down and you're just like, last session we did, I went to IKEA like twice because I was just like, hey guys, I'm gonna go to IKEA and like, you know, farm for lumps of coal and also to acquire the sword over the fireplace because Loth vacuumed it up the first time we all went there. And it respawned, so like it's not a big deal, but it's definitely that moment of like I wanted to get a sword for myself to end my curse of always being the guy who's like, well, you know, I'm not carrying a bladed weapon, now I'll carry a sword. But also there were resources there to farm, you know, and like slurp up the coal and stuff, or the lumps of salt are like good to turn into salt, and like you just kind of lock in for a little bit, zero down and go stuff. Loth did a little bit of farming in the security section, and then giving me a laser pistol. We just kind of like did laser stuff, and like I won't say we like clowned on, you know, the night guy,
The Space
like,
Reaper.
He's still dangerous, but there were definitely some times where like Space Reaper showed up to roll our shit, and you just hear laser noises as me and Loth just whip out the gat and show him the what for.
No, like this is like we should give him the what for, but we should explain like I think some of the problem of Abiotic Factor is the fact of you generally have no idea what you're fucking doing unless you are specifically hunting down lore or reading the wiki. Because when we first encountered the Reaper, we had no idea what we were doing. We died a lot to the fucking Reaper. I got God and transported to the Night Realm. I screamed.
Yeah, I kind of wish we'd been doing a recording on, just because that was so crazy. Because like I approached the like night gooped like button to progress, and I was just gonna be like, hey guys, something's covering this button. I turn around to say this, I see the Reaper gliding down the stairs, and before I can switch gears in my mind and go, guys, there's a ghoulie, you're like, I've been grabbed by a ghoulie. And it's just like perfectly cut timing.
No, and after that, we were trying to deal with it, and we didn't know exactly how to do that, so I actually had to go online and look up how we deal with it. And now that we know that, it's not as bad. We can usually run around the security sector and not feel too bad about things. We still get got every once in a while, but it's not to the absolutely, and I can admit this, somewhat frustrating degree that it was in the first point.
Yeah,
there
and that's
was a
the
lot.
thing, right? Like, I feel like you said, the game has basically like two modes. Either you kind of like trial and error and like eventually find some lore entries to figure shit out, or you look it up in the wiki. When we were trialing and erroring that guy, it was a little whack, because we were just getting bleed killed over and over again, and you kind of figured out that he didn't like X-rays, but like his version of not liking X-rays is very different than Layak, because it makes him super pissed.
Angry. Yeah, it makes him angry.
Which, like, does actually matter, because when he's, like, full Angie, you can't get rid of him as easily. Whereas just,
No.
Again, quick drawing him with a laser pistol is, like, there. Also, guess what? To get the laser pistol, you gotta farm Night Essence, which means you have to actually interact with him a couple of times.
So, yeah, no, it's interesting, and a lot of things are kind of like that. Like, me, I'm a much more slow and steady player. I don't mind spending extra days, you know, building up my resources, taking my time, gathering resources and all that stuff. But for others, like, you kind of want to go to the next thing, because it is exciting to go to the next area, find a new material, get to make the new stuff. Like, we finally got through security sector. We're now in the hydro plant, and we have found, you know, hydro pipes, the rotary mortars, and a few other things. And we've unlocked a bunch of shit. Like, we've unlocked the large garden plot, the large storage chests, which are great. Fucking huge. And, you know, like, we're starting to unlock, you know, the next tier of weapon and armors, which, you know, we always sorely need. We still get domed by fucking snipers constantly. But Abiotic Factor is a game that I feel like you're supposed to push forward and then stop. You know, stop, assess, learn what you knew, build up, and then push forward again.
Which I guess for, like, an action science simulator kind of makes sense, because you, like, stumble dick first into horrors beyond ye ken, and then you're like, when you pull yourself together out of that, you're like, okay, let's whiteboard this, let's problem solve this, what do we do? But gameplay wise, it is very start stop, which is weird. It's a little different.
Like, I don't want to say it's bad, but it's definitely a vibe that I don't think everyone gets, because Abiotic Factor is very, very strongly hearkening to Half-Life back from, you know, the early 2000s with the character models. You know, there's something horribly wrong going in the fucking science center, and you are just hapless scientist trying to deal with it. And I like a lot of the effort that they put into it. Like, a lot of the weapons are interesting and unique. You can just get gun, but you can also, upgrade gun. There's various types of armor. There's a wide variety of enemies in there. Like, you just start off with, like, the 4-stage evolution of, Antiverse 2 characters, which goes from Carbuncle Pest, Peccary to Exor. But then you start, running into human enemies. You start running into SCPs. Lucky does not like the Layak, because at his core, Lucky is a bitch. Lucky does not like having to deal with threats that I literally can't do anything about. The Layak will eventually kill you. Like, because it is a unending, unceasing entity that you can only temporarily drive away. It is only a matter of time before it kills you. And that bugs me.
It's
all it needs.
If this was like one of those, cheap SCP tie-in video games when SCP really first blew up from like 5 years ago, or even 5 years before that, if it was like a Slender clone or like an Outlast or something, the Layak would be the entire game.
Yeah.
We'll be running from him. You can't do anything about him.
Like, because like I said, it always knows with your aura. It's always moving towards you. You can't block it with doors or furniture. It'll move right through them. And it just has to basically get close enough to you, and it has a super high damaging attack that will almost guarantee kill you. So if you are not paying attention, you die. Now, Abiotic Factor is a little bit better.
Jumped me in a menu.
Yes. Abiotic Factor is a bit better, as like I said, you have the X-ray turret, which, will stop it. You have the X-ray lamp, which will stop it. And eventually, you can get a containment unit to trap the Layak, although you have to do some hoops. And you have to keep the containment unit both powered and fed. It takes 2 resources to keep that containment unit. If any of those go out, the Layak gets free again. We have not reached the point of getting the fucking containment unit, though. So it just kind of lives.
That said, the concept of the containment unit very much fits the game design. I think it's pretty cool to be like, hey, you can get rid of this guy, but you gotta add it to your, like, resource upkeep.
Yes. So no, like, Abiotic Factor has a lot of cool a lot of cool gameplays in it. Lucky gets, I think one of my biggest complaints about the game is the map. Like, I'm not talking about, like, a mini-map or something, or, like, a world map. I'm talking about, like, the map that they give you in-game, I cannot understand. There are multiple tiers, there are vents, there's all this stuff, I can't keep track of it all in my head.
Yeah, I'll fill it in general. There is basically a menu tab, which is your, like, gate, like, pad or PDA. Some of it is, we're playing it on PS5 because that's where it was free, and the game is not necessarily I wouldn't say necessarily. It's not controller optimized. I brought this up before. Literally, as at least where we are right now, like, left on the D-pad, I don't think does anything. Like, maybe there's another tool we get later that goes to that keybind, but, like, up is for emotes, down is auto drop, and right is to pull your arm over and play your watch, which has not just your clock on it, but does also have a compass, which you pointed out to me, which I hadn't noticed because it is kind of small. But when you're looking for it, you're like, oh, hey, there is a compass. It also does temperature, which is important. But in your main menu, there's a tab, which is your gate pad, right? That has the maps you've collected in it, which you collect by literally tearing off the Take 1 maps. It also has other information, like all your lore entries and your fish compendium and stuff. I'm glad that they have an in-game codex, but it's a little awkward to navigate. Like, you get a new notification of entry, and it's like, you've got, like, locations, characters, people, and you can click on them. And they're, like, usually partially or fully redacted. They get unredacted as you discover the entries. And they do usually hint at, like, how you get that specific lore entry, but they're super vague. You click on a region, and you have, like, a big... I don't know if the other players know this, but you get a big list of, like, basically plot hooks. Like, everything that could be interactable is kind of dumped onto your pad, but it's not organizable, and it's not organized, so it's just kind of in an order of just, like, stuff you discover. It also doesn't go away as you do things. So, like, I think I've got, like, things from, like, Cascade Labs that are still, like, referencing, like, oh yeah, the dark lens chamber. And then later it's down like, oh, we open the dark lens chamber. And it's kind of the same with the maps. Like, you can pull up the map if you discover them anytime, but they're just flat 2D maps of the region of a level. They don't really do topography. They don't really, like, I don't think you interact with them, so you don't really check, like, if you've found, like, a locked or blocked door on the map. They're just kind of there. So, yeah, navigating is tricksy.
It's definitely tricksy. But, like I said, I'm still having fun with it. I do want to keep pushing on to the end. Like I said,
I think you brought this up the first week we talked about it, the first week we played it. The aesthetics of Abiotic Factor are really cool. Not only is it kind of like a Half-Life retro clone type game, being first person and being deliberately low res. But like the weird science aspect is very strong, right? Like, yeah, you can pick, like you said, you can pick up guns, but also, one of my other mainstay ranged weapons before we did actually get a very decent stock of 12 gauge is like the grinder, which is just like a gun that shoots saw blades, and like that's one that is very Half-Life coded, but that's also just so cool that's just like you're full of weird kludged shit. Oh, we don't have power drills in here, right? Well, what if we just bolted a fucking electric motor to a screwdriver to make a drill?
It works.
Like shit like that. And then also you get the weird like SCP / obviously they're all like different dimensions in Half-Life, but I feel like the different dimension stuff wasn't always the focus. Like there are a couple of like portally world shit that Gordon gets involved in. Sorry, I said Gordon. I'm just like,
help me, Gordon.
It's me, Barney from Black Mesa.
About that beer I owe you.
It's Sody Pop in Abiotic for sure. I don't know if that's like a ratings thing because this game is either made in New Zealand or Australia or both.
I think it's New Zealand. But...
Yeah, I think it's actually technically Kiwis, but it's set in Australia. I'm pretty sure
it is.
But yeah, like you get actual weird alternate dimensions, which I think is very cool of them because it lets them do like your like bootleg makeshift action science office core type stuff, like we talked about this. The makeshift armor is literally you strap filing cabinet doors to your chest kind of a thing. To like the set I'm currently rocking, the Hexenwood set, which there's evil anthropomorphic trees in an alternate dimension which appears to be permanently stuck in like a Tim Curry is the Witchfinder general type shit universe. Which I think the Order knows about, so it might be connected to them, because we found some emails where them talking about Kanan. Also, the dimension is called Kanan. But otherwise, it's just a weird, like, pocket dimension full of people who are angry about witches, even though they have evil trees, and something's wrong with their corn. And so I made armor from the Hexwood and the Lodestone, which is a cube, which is alive, but also holy. And among other things, what the Hexwood set gives me is that it automatically heals my bleeding over time. How does it do it? I don't want to know.
It's not you don't know, it's you don't want to know.
Yeah. I don't wish to interrogate this. I built the Hexenwood shield. It self-repairs its durability, which is cool, but also when I pull it out, it like transformers itself. It like pops out its weird roots and vines to grow bigger and then compacts down.
Not to mention that when you wear the full set, the evil trees think of you as friendly, so they don't attack you.
I'm just a humble Hexwood merchant is the name of the trait I get for the head bonus. It's weird. So, like, they do that kind of stuff, and, like, some of it, obviously, is I think some of the anti-verses, the portal realms are pretty simple. I don't remember what it's... the Mycofields. The Mycofields is just, like, giant fungus and, like, molten metal.
Yeah, got some skeletal bugs in there.
Like, it's a good source of resources, it's cool, but it's just kind of simple. It's like the dimensions we see where the carbuncles come from.
Yeah.
But it means that Abiotic Factor gets to do a lot of really cool references. Like, there's the furniture store in the zombie apocalypse, which explicitly references, the mall from, like, Night of the Living Dead in the trophy and stuff. Flat Hill is very kind of like The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist.
I think on reading that wiki entry, I do believe that that was actually partly the inspiration for it. Literally, town filled with myth with giant creatures wandering around. It's pretty on point. But like I said, the portals
are something.
Yeah, but the portals are fun because again, you talked about this. We have our office core main thing, but then we have a bunch of different portal worlds where we get to go out and try different things. Like the Mycofield, while it is just mushrooms and molten metal, there's a lot of platforming and jump puzzles in it. That's where we get the rope plants, we get a lot of, big shroom jumps, like that. So there's a lot of platforming on it. The first portal world you go through, Far Garden, is actually very tiny in comparison. It only has 2 enemies, but it's kind of your entry. Flat Hill, like when you first go Flat Hill, that's actually a stealth based encounter because you ain't beating no composers on your first try. You're going to be in composers on your second, third, or fourth try.
Yeah,
Like,
at the very least, the game warns you straight up that, none of the weapons you own, at least when you go to Flat Hill, can harm the composer.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of the train. The train is literally an FPS. Is literally an FPS segment. You go through a single corridor and you fight a bunch of order guys with guns, which generally means you're probably shooting them with whatever you got going on.
Yeah, it's like a cool action set piece, but also is like there's literally a thing called the Infinity Train, right? Like there's references here.
No. So
the
each of
furniture
the
store
portals
is a zombie realm.
Yep, the zombie realm. Honestly, the fucking the night realm I think is just a maze, a creepy maze. There's like no enemies in there, but it's very confusing in there. I get lost. Well, Lucky gets lost in general, but it's very easy to get lost in there.
I mean, here's the thing that you guys missed from the first night realm we did that night when all four of us were together again. Because you guys accidentally went backwards because you can like open shortcuts backwards. But like, I went ahead and was like looking around, and Loft was like, "Hey Omega, do you want to guess how you progress?" And I was like looking around, like, "What do you mean?" There's a yellow ladder texture leaning against a wall that has vines, and I just looked at it and I just went, "Oh," and it's like. When I walked by it the first time, I wouldn't have thought that this 2D flat vine texture was climbable, because the game doesn't normally work like that. But then I was just like, oh, I get it, and then climbed it up, and broke my shins by falling off, because the ladder physics in this game are terrible. I broke Lucky's shins later.
I do like the meme of the yellow paint. There is actually, they call them ISs, for their SCPs, but there is just a can of yellow paint that is one of their ISs, which it's completely ordinary yellow paint, but for some odd reason it appears on, ladders, cliffs, and, other climbable surfaces, usually in areas where people are all lost, to show them the way out. Which is I think we talked about this when I was explaining to you this last game, which is, a complete shot/reference at both video games, developers using yellow paint as a waypoint, but also people who also kind of need the yellow paint to get through the game, otherwise, because they won't be able to find it either. Anyway, I'll myself, Lucky is that person. If I don't have like some sort of guiding waymark, I will get lost so fucking easily.
Honestly, you and I are both kind of that way. That's why sometimes I feel like we run into issues when we are exploring in front in Abiotic, because I think you and I are the person who gets left behind the most between the two of us. Because, like, if Loth gets ahead of us, and sometimes Axe gets ahead, Axe is more likely to go aside, though. Like, I won't say he necessarily runs on in front all the time, but he will definitely be like, oh, what's this? But, like, I'll stop to, like, look at something.
Axe likes to follow people silently until he sees something interesting, and then he goes off. So many times, I'm just wandering around. I turn around, Axe is just following me. And then I look at him, and then he just wanders off to the side.
Yeah, so, Axe also has a bad habit of like, virtually bumping my elbow, too, like, coming up behind me. And like, I'm just like, oh, somebody's there. Oh, shit, it's Axe. I've talked before in combat of, like, I need to readjust my settings because you have dialed down the friendly fire. I'm pretty sure Loth and Axe can take some 12 gauge in the back, because they do, unfortunately, have a habit of crossing the T right in front of me. And I'm like, I got two shells in this thing, man.
The shot I had with the mag, though, with the rebar, I'm like, hey, guys, I'm gonna take out this fucking sniper. Give me a second. I pull the trigger, and that is the exact moment when Loft decides to walk in front of me, for whatever reason.
First of all, you don't need to do your sprint attack. I like the sprint attack, but I guess you're using heavy weapons, but, like, I use my hammer without sprint attacking all the time. But also, I don't know if you've got too much shit in your pockets. You don't feel like you're sprinting back and forth at the enemy, like sprint strafing. It's just, like, somehow, and it's not just Axe, like I said, Loth does this too. I feel like Loth just, like, accidentally circle strafes, like, right into my line of fire and stays there just a little too long, and I don't want to be like, Loth, what are you doing? Because, like, he's also fighting the guy, and if he's in front of me, that probably means that he's taking the bullets for me, but it's also just like, how did you exactly crowd my shot? But, like I said, and I admit, it's like, it is, I don't know if it's like a failing, but it is a personal habit of mine. If we're exploring, oftentimes, if I stop to think about something or I see something neat that, like, environmental, I will pause and go, hey, that's cool. And I'll stop to look at it. I'll stop to, like, double check my menus of stuff. And then I look around and I'm like, oh shit, where did we go?
No, this is one of the things.
Talking about the navigation in this game, it's a little, staying partied up is a little tough sometimes.
It is. They do have, See, this is something that I hope they maybe do in future updates and whatnot, but I hope they get a little bit more crazy with the trinket system. To call back to a much older game that is still updating even to this day for some odd reason, even though every update is the last update. That's one of the things I really liked about Terraria and their accessories, is that so many of their accessories can be combined with other accessories to make better accessories that basically either did something new or they combined the effects of old ones. And I kind of wish more games would do that. And I think Abiotic Factor is one of those games that could do that, because one of the first accessories you can get is called the Employee Locator, which all it does is it highlights NPCs and other players, and it makes you highlight it to other PCs. Very useful. That takes up a whole ass trinket slot, though.
Yeah, you only
get two of those.
There's some very good ones in the game.
There are a lot of good trinkets, like the crystalline trinket, which, you know, makes you glow purple, makes things invisible to you, and slowly charges your battery. That's fucking great. The sigil of the hearth makes you faster in combat and makes enemies who drop ammo drop the maximum amount of ammo they can. Also fucking great. There's the sensor companion. Always makes it so that it seems like you're looking at the layout, so it's harder for it to sneak up on you. Fucking amazing. The Spuddy increases drop rates.
I've never built a Spuddy, nor have I had to, because we've had a couple Spuddies in rotation. The drops you get off that shit is crazy.
Yeah. And there's even more. Like, again, I think we're at the halfway point of the game at this point. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel it.
It seems about right, because we've completely blocked out at least one set of trams. And we know that there's another couple of tram stations, but they're a little further away. So we're at a significant milestone.
Like I said, I read the wiki ahead because we kind of need that foreknowledge, but I knew we're in the hydro plant right now. I don't know how far through it, but we also still have the reactors and the residential sector, plus whatever portal worlds we're going. And again, I could be
one
actually
of those portal worlds will be cold. It has to be.
Yeah. So, like, I'm pretty sure, like, yeah, no, we're like at the halfway point, maybe a little bit past it. And I think, like, a lot of us, we're in our stride in the game, but the game keeps throwing so much stuff at us.
And sometimes it's not even just like the hydro plant's really interesting. I was going to talk about that. Security sector was that was one of those things where we had a big blowout moment where we're all just getting laid out by a fucking space ghost coast to coast. Literally at one point, I think 3 or 4 of us was calling around on the ground and somebody was just like, oh shit, we have to respawn. We're all down. And that was really freaky. And then we kind of had to fall back. But then immediately it was like, oh, okay, we can make tech bandages. That stops our bleeding. But you were like, I don't know if we want to do that because that's going to use a lot of our Kevlar. And it's like, well, that seems like the only thing to do. And then it's like, oh, wait, no. We can open up this other thing and go to the Hexen World portal and Kanan, which does suck in its own way. Those fucking... I don't know what's in that corn, man. Those farmers are crazy,
the thing was that the Kanan discovery was literally completely accidental. We found out later that there might have been a lead into it or something. But no, the portal to Kanan was, in Cascade, and it required a snag vine, which you can find as early as the mines and manufacturing, and one other item. I don't remember what it was.
It was Night Essence.
Night Essence.
Yeah, so we got some Night Essence from bamboozling the guy, and I think that was at one point me and Loth were talking, and we're just like, oh yeah, wasn't there a weird, I think Loth may have brought it up first. He was like, wasn't there a weird tree in Cascade that needed Night Essence? And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that place.
Yeah, so we opened that up and, kind of went in, not knowing, expecting, and Lucky got clowned on. That's why I don't go to Kanan anymore.
Yeah, like I said, Kanan Kanan's weird. Like I said, the Space Reaper guy was pretty scary. I think these fucking pilgrim farmers with their wood axes and their torches and their pitchforks could take him if they got enough of them together. You want to talk about stealth segment? That's a semi-stealth segment, because if you, blow your cover, they'll ring the church bell and spawn more guys.
Yeah.
Kanan is so annoying with, how above their weight class the enemies hit. Loth, looked up a pro strat and developed a scheme to, farm the resources better, which involved an extra personal teleporter keyed to a place where he hid a fucking crafting bench in there.
Just so we can skip the fucking...
But, that place that gave us lodestone fragments, which we were, wondering, well, where the fuck do we get the lodestone fragments? And it's like, oh, this place, they're talking about the lodestone. And also, I was like, oh, this Hexenwood set gives you, if you get all 4, you get to automatically remove heavy bleeding? I wonder if that's, a tool that makes fighting the Reaper easier. It does. It's also just... Loth and I is the guys who end up on the pointy end a lot, because, like, it's funny. You talked earlier about, like, how you take a slow, methodical stuff. I like to clear stuff, but also I'm okay just, like, kind of heads down and farming, too. Like, if it's just you and me in Abiotic, I will just be like, hey, what do we need? What do we not have? Okay, let's go check out some realms. Let's see some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I don't have a personal project that I'm working on, I'm just down to, like I said, last time I was just like, hey, I'm gonna go to IKEA for personal reasons. Anybody want anything? You know?
Go into the store, get a milk. You guys need anything?
Or even, like, just, like, offering, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to Canaan for hexwood. We can get silver scrap there. You want me to pick up some extra silver scrap? We don't need that silver scrap, certainly. There's much easier ways to get it. But if we're here,
Mm-hmm.
But, like, since Loth and I were on the pointy end and did a couple of the more combat-y challenges a couple of times, we bled a lot.
Yeah.
The bleed mechanic is very rough in this game.
Well, I think that's why you both have the Hexenwood set right now.
It's not just the Space Reaper, it's also doing, which sector was it? The control room, I guess, in containment, the containment inner wing, which had a shitload of order guys and machine gun sentry turrets. We did a lot of bleeding, man, and we were very over it by the end of the night. Yeah, X made tech bandages later, but that's after we got a lot of like Kevlar up. But so, like, that's the thing where, like, Kanan was kind of like, oh, well, this seems like a thing we should do to work with, and that was like a personal project for me. You wanted a lot of the lodestone and stuff to work on a few stuff that you were like, oh, this will be very good,
Yeah, no, like, I am very much a range combatant in the game. I was very good with the 9mm. I usually carried the crossbow. I dropped the 9mm, and, well, again, because we have it so that loot respawns slowly, because we usually have, like, 4 players in there, and that means we need 4 players worth of resources, and the game doesn't necessarily, have all of that readily available for people, so we gotta take our turns. So usually, like, with guns and stuff, we have to pick and choose who uses what. I was fighting with axe for a little while over the 9mm, but I decided, no, I got 2 crossbows, and I got the mag bow, which, if I can get a sneak attack headshot on an order guy, it drops them. They just fucking go down. It's very fucking useful.
I don't know what the headshot and sneak attack multipliers are, but they're pretty good. I can do the same thing up close because my signature ranged weapon has become the antique double-barreled shotgun, because I just happened to pick it up first, and nobody was really like, Omega, give me that.
No,
so just
but that means we give you all the shells and stuff, and grinder discs. Loth is happy being melee, I think. I don't think he necessarily has a gun. He has the energy pistol for his range stuff, but he also got one up so he can deal with the Reaper, and I know you got one as well. Axe seems to like heavy weapons. He loves his sprint attack, but also, like I said, I gave him all the 9mm.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of balanced. Like, I still have a shield. I was using some range stuff. Technically, my class started as, like, throwing heavy, but throw weapons are a little weird. Mm-hmm. I think the throwing darts are a little low damage. And then there are some real good throwing weapons. The mug... Oh, I got another great mug nade throw last night. And it's like, it's so funny to see those guys fucking fly. But that does require a little bit of investment of resources. It's the same kind of like with, like, the super thermite, which is like, that's cool. That does damage. I don't know how many of those I want to be carrying. Like, the same reason why you were like, I don't know if I want to make more of those. It's like, yeah, they don't do a lot of damage right away, but they do a big splash of fire that stays on the ground, and it's like, that's a little tricky.
No, it's like, I had the load hammer, and it does do good damage, but the problem is it puts a fire hazard on the ground, and it can damage you. I have caught myself on fire from hitting dudes with a hammer, and I'm just like, wait a minute, that's not how this is supposed to happen. If I hit someone with a hammer, it sets them on fire, and then they set me on fire. Why am I using this hammer?
Yeah, and I don't think technically they set you on fire so much as the fire puddle, but it's one of those, like, interaction things where, like, well, but my foot's in the fire puddle.
Because I'm up on this dude.
We did just unlock the like, pipe cudgel.
I might switch that. Right now,
like,
I'm
yellow
using the
pipe
text
version
here.
of the old school pipe club.
No. I am, again, I'm excited to get back into it. I don't know if we'll play tonight. It seems a bit late, and I don't know if Loth is working.
Yeah, I don't know if Loth's working or not, but also he might just be, his sleep could be fucking... He's away right now,
so he's probably at work.
He's either at work or, like, he's doing stuff. Because, like, I remember last night when we were playing, he said, oh yeah, I would have to go in until, the equivalent of, like, midnight your time, 3 a.m. my. So I think he had a late day shift.
Yeah.
It's okay. Then
I don't know. If you feel up to
rain
it, we
letter
could just go me and you in there and farm resources. There is plenty of shit we need to get.
we could do it. We'll see. We'll see how long talking about rain takes.
Yes. But, Abiotic Factor, very good. I want to beat this game. I want to beat it. There is a quote-unquote end. They say question mark with end. So there might be future updates, but I would like to knock this game off the list so we can maybe focus our time on other things. I have not played, like, Rogue Trader at all since we got really into Abiotic Factor. And I'm still interested
it's the
in
same thing, like I said with me. I'm like, never mind that we phased out 2 4-man shooters to do this, because we both stopped playing Deep Rock Galactic and Darktide.
Yeah.
Both of which are solid games, but, you know, we clicked into the gameplay loop.
Listen, I still have Darktide installed.
Yeah.
I uninstalled Deep Rock Galactic, but Darktide's still there. I now have 2 Warhammer 40k games on my machine. This is unprecedented, y'all.
But, and then we've talked before about, like, getting back to Supermarket together, or, like, if Schedule 1 had a big update, trying some stuff, and obviously we're trying to set up our Vintage Story server.
That is slow going because, again, like, Vintage Story really shines with mods, but not all mods are created equal, nor updated equal. So, it's going a little bit back and forth on that. We are appraising everyone on mods and when they update, and maybe unofficial forks or patches. But, no, it's good. But, honestly, this is something I was actually thinking about today, like, thinking about, like, rain, because I like to tell a lot of people. Well, actually, excuse me, before I start on the rain talk, is there anything else you want to talk about Abiotic Factor or any other games?
No, I was actually gonna say, talking about, you know, whether or not we played, my segue was gonna be, you know, I'll take more time to write more rain letters.
Mm-hmm. So, for me, I feel like this week has actually gone very fast, which is usually very, not the case for me to say. And I think this is partly because of, rain. Last week, like I said, we finally finished Lorelei Rock. We got that out of the way, and Omega was finally able to give our characters the letters they have been waiting for. But the interesting thing is that Omega actually wrote out these letters and delivered them to us. So we got to see basically, you know, how said characters would speak to us in a letter. And that got lucky on a fucking tag. I think at this point I have written 3 letters and just posted them in the Tabletop right now. And I've actually had a lot of fun doing it. From the opening line, you know, the initial greetings, you know, Enos's verbiage and tone in it, how he ends them. It's like, no, letter writing is actually a lot of fun. And like I said, I think because of it, I have been, the week has gone super, super quickly. We're only like 2 days from the next session. I could have sworn, and it feels like Tuesday to me. It was like, whoa. But, no, once again, we've been talking about it. We have a lot, like, cause, today, actually, as I was uploading the AP, I was just looking at it, it's all like, God, we're at 50-something episodes right now, and we're only like 2 months into the post-prologue. And, you know, gotten a little bit of discussion with Omega about, like, what have we been doing? Long story short, a lot. Omega was talking about this. In the early game, we wanted to interact with NPCs and the setting a lot, and was not very good at delegating or, how do I want to put this? Leaving out the details, I suppose. And partly, I can't say this for myself. I am very good at leaving out the details. Like, I get an idea in my head, and I want to, you know, break it down into its base components. For example, since this was most recent, in one of the letters, that Enos received, Omega described the S-Talk, which was a real weapon used, in the French for a variety of reasons. And the way the letter put it just seemed like I could have just said, alright, I will make one X1 S-Talk. It will be perfectly fine and okay and valid. But me, Lucky, goes, wait a minute, this is an S-Talk. Now, while there is, you know, there's the normal S-Talk, there is also the Boar Spear Sword S-Talk, which is technically different from the S-Talk. Now,
also, I think, we didn't really talk about this, but technically I'm pretty sure, as people who are familiar with them, there are one-handed versus two-handed S-Talks as well.
Yes.
Like, it's a style of sword.
Yeah, it's probably gonna make her a two-handed S-Talk. She can... But it's one of those things of just like, okay, because, like I said, this is me. I could have just made an S-Talk and called it good, and, you know, narratively and mechanically speaking, it'd have been fucking fine. It would have, but I couldn't let that be. So, I started doing research on the S-Talk, and I discovered, how, it actually looked with its boar head spear, because that's what they would do. To describe what an S-Talk is, it is basically a long, thin sword that does not have an edge on its blade, but instead has a very strong point. That means, while it is very bad at cutting things, it is supremely good at stabbing things. It was actually used, as part of a cavalry weapon, and sometimes in hunting. But the problem with in hunting is that because the point was so sharp, and you had to pierce with it, there is a danger of it over penetrating and letting the beastie, who is probably very mad at you for stabbing it, getting close to you and either, biting you to bits or slashing you to bits. To combat this, what they would do is they would place the point of the S-Talk with a boar head. You all probably seen a boar head spear. It is basically the sharp point with the two outer wings, which is used to catch on, something of the animal, whether it be usually bones. Unfortunately,
yes, boar hunting spears have a very prominent crossbar. If you've ever wondered, why is the crossbar so far up there? Because you're not gripping it. It's because you want the boar to be very far away from you.
Yes. So, but the problem with that is, while the S-Talk was somewhat of a noble dueling weapon, the hunting version, not so much. I'm pretty sure you could, but it has this big flangy thing that makes it, a little awkward to carry around, and you really can't put it in a fucking scabbard. Funnily enough, originally S-Talks weren't even carried in scabbards. They were just hung at the side of a horse. It's a little wild. Like I said, Omega mentioned to the Sizzles, alright, it's time to go on a sword wiki walk.
And hey, I'll say I didn't know exactly what you would do with it, but I did write in the letter, not to phrase it as, I'm sure just mentioning it, has got you coming up with ideas, and it did.
It did. Where is the picture of the? Nope, that's not it. I found a cool picture of one of the hunting the hunting S-Talks. Nope, it was earlier than that. We put a lot of fucking word text in damn Secret Tabletop.
We're usually talking about three things in Secret Tabletop at any given time, broadly.
Let me post it. Yeah, so what Omega posted there was a normal S-Talk. This is a boar spear sword S-Talk.
And you can see quite there that it's got the literal boar spear head.
Yeah.
Also, got a feature that I think is really cool. It's got the ring thumb grips for much better control.
Oh, yeah. Nah, people know what they were doing back in the day. And so, me going... this is a bit of a Big Wall Explorer story, explaining about how I am way too detail-oriented. Me goes, okay, I like both of these, but it's really hard for me to just do one or the other because they both have their pros and both have their cons. So, what am I going to have to do? Well, clearly, I'm going to have to do both. I'm going to have to make some sort of trick/switch weapon. And I feel like at that point, Omega just kind of steepled his fingers to be like, yes. And that has been, one of the focus of one of my letters to one of Enos's friends, who has not actually got a lot of screen time. I'm hoping to change this up. Master Barrock, the Master Clockmaker from Celticy. Is it Celticy or Celticy?
I think we've always said Celticy.
Okay.
It's actually supposed to be a soft C, but yeah, we'll go Celticy.
Celticy. And
I had to use a new word in one of the letters I wrote. I was like, oh, so we've said Norlish for Northerner. What's the version of that for the South? And I think I went Celtian.
Celtian sounds about right. Yeah. And now I'm starting this whole quest to invent a fucking bloodborne weapon in which I can make little pop-out prongs pop out of the tip of the spear, so it can be used as a boar hunting spear. Now that I'm mentioning it, I might as well see if I can, change it from a one-handed grip to a two-handed grip. Or maybe it'll just be a two-handed grip from the beginning. I don't know. I haven't actually, hammered down the details, because in this, like I said, while I am detail-oriented, I am realizing that I need to be a little less detail-specific on things, and, just let the narrative take the weight. Just roll dice. Congratulations, you have made the Switch S-Talk. How you made it? By a combination of sorcery and clockworks. Don't think about it too hard.
Hey, careful! You're future seeing my reply from Barak Zikr, which is basically I'm going to tell you a little bit's in the note. It's basically some of it's just going to be you spun the yarn to him. You already wrote the letter, so he takes your idea and he's like, yes, that's very interesting. I could probably design I could walk you through making the mechanism, the God, what's the motion, I think is what they call it, for clockwork. I could figure that out. We could figure out like a gear or spring or a pin that could pivot on. Normally, putting that in a weapon would have increased wear and tear over a watch, which could be a liability. Yeah. But, you've already said you'll do some sorcery to it. He'll also suggest his suggestion will be going into the archives of the goldsmiths and redsmiths guilds to look for obscure alloys also. Because in real life, by the way, that's what we do. When we have an engineering problem where, like, you need to do very specific things with metal, you go to the fucking list and are like, okay, what can I do here? What's a metal that's strong and light? So we'll put a titanium lug on this for it to pivot and swing on, kind of a thing. Yeah, Conrad's got student of metallurgy. You might float that one by him. Actually, you've invited Zeker, so they might have something fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, no, Enos was planning on conferring with Professor Eremita and Conrad, actually, but I was gonna wait for that for the sesh. Honestly, I don't think I've actually mentioned this, but no, I do think the big roleplay from Enos is gonna be grabbing the Marcus and Conrad and be like, okay, guys, we have done stuff. We need to do the follow up, and we need to plan our next steps.
I think that will be so. This is the other thing. Like we talked about, like what. And it is a little funny that you actually you uploaded the episode and put it in perspective. This is a thing that Axe has bemoaned a little. He specifically thinks about it as in terms of oh man, Gensekai was only 24 episodes. We got so much done. It's been 50 episodes of Rain. What are we doing? And it eats his anxiety specifically, as opposed to you kind of going oh man, what did we do? It's also a thing of so yes, number one I brought up was I think one of the things was that the Redux of the Rising Dragon Festival took up more time than I originally planned because it was just a week, but it took even longer to get through in post-time skip than it did in pre-time skip. But that was because I think, and I understand why, I want to say that nobody said this out loud, but I think the reason why everybody latched really strongly onto it was because that was the kind of one thing outside of Tyne and the one source of characters that everybody definitely understood in those early days. And Lord knows, I think some of the character stuff has been Wild West enough, Yeah. Like people have kind of been figured some stuff out and changed. I think Nicola as a character has straight up changed a couple of times, and not just in the time skip where Dallas straight up said, he was hey, my kind of bright, gentle, calming character is now kind of more weird. I have my weird martyrdom complex is really strong, but also I run away from responsibility. He literally did a character flip. He actually, if you guys didn't know, much like how Enos, you respect some of your advantages, he lost the calming presence advantage.
Yes. In
the time skip. He straight up changed. So not only that part, but also characters have kind of pivoted back and forth. I don't want to say as a character Logesh has changed, but I feel Loth as playing Logesh has had different moments where Logesh has had different goals. He's actually changed what he's thinking about, kind of a thing. So definitely there were touchstones that changed with characters. So the redoing the Dragon Festival was kind of very much some of it, like I said, was just you guys were well, that's where we met all the cool NPCs we just had to talk to. I want to talk to all my friends again.
Yeah.
And now I feel we're kind of getting that moment where it's just no, there's a whole, guys, you have government-funded mail. The Crown has 13 big offices, public functions. What do you call it? State-funded activities. One of which is the mail system. So you can just send letters. That's something I feel not obviously just over this past week. When I've actually been writing letters back, but over the past couple of months of sessions, people have just been going oh yeah, shit, I can just send letters.
Send letters. Send notes.
I just kind of move it very well. But also, like I said, I think it was very appropriate for the characters, but I kind of feel your characters and the players kind of latched onto the Rising Dragon Festival as obviously the one from 3 years ago was very important because, the thing happened, the death of Leofric Loki. But also, you guys took that as kind of a significant foundational event in your lives, which that's so real for me to be oh, this will be kind of a casual setup event. We might revisit it later. But also several characters were by the way, I'm going back to the Dragon Festival in the time skip. Yeah. It became a very formational identity thing for several of the characters. And so I feel kind of like you guys were not just for yourselves, we're also like, yes, also our younger generation NPCs need to go through this thing. That's important.
Yes.
And, like, it kind of is. Like, I really didn't know what we were going to do with youngest brother, Hyorin Logi's thing.
Yeah.
And putting him through the Rising Dragon and the Grand Melee and stuff like that did actually give a moment for him to shine. He's doing his fucking YA novel off-screen power scaling right now.
Yeah.
Shit like that. But, like, honestly, I don't know if the actual festival parts of the Rising Dragon were important for, like, what's going on with, like, Aurelia's character arc, so much as just, like, spending time with you guys on screen.
Well, at this point, I think Aurelia has probably spent too much time on screen. She needs to have her own solo adventure so she can have her own YA novels.
Yes, you brought that up, and I'm just like, yes, perfect. I shall reward you with short fiction.
Well, no, you see, here's the thing. Aurelia can't be the heroine of a YA novel section if she's hanging out with us.
Right now, like, in the TV show, Aurelia is, like, first season, like, I mean, Arya Stark. I was gonna joke about Sansa, but no, that's definitely not Sansa. She's, like, first season, like Arya Stark, where she's, like, at times she's been the tag-along kid, but she's also doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, she can't be the main character until she gets the part where she actually goes alone. I mean, you're asking me, like, my favorite characters. I've got a lot of characters I like to roleplay, but I think some of it's just, like, bringing them out there, but the characters that I like writing for and voicing for the most is Aurelia's pretty up there, but a lot of that has to do with, like, that's a character I'm building an arc for. Moira's pretty fun, just because I did the classic thing where I built the older badass character. Like, some of you guys could give her a run for her money, but I think generally in, like, a 1v1, like, it's gonna take you guys a while, and it's gonna take other characters, like NPCs, a while to be the equal of Moira Two Swords. That's okay, because you're playing Rain, so, like, technically, Leslock hasn't tried to do this at all. You guys are very comfortable letting Moira just be Aurelia's cavalier. You did, as the fencing master, take advantage to take care of a couple problems while we were in the Rising Dragon Festival, but, like, technically, you guys could just be hucking Moira at problems. Any problem you could solve with a duel, I'm pretty sure she could tank. She could face tank that.
I mean, we did.
You did, yeah, like I said, you did actually do that once, but, like, nobody has really, like, brought up trying to, like, weaponize that currently.
Mm-hmm.
But we're playing Rain, so, like, you can't solve all your problems by just Moiraing them.
No.
No, we'll have to just say he's free, so.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. We can clock in a little bit. I need to get better about. That's not about going to bed thing. I need to get better about getting back up in the day. Like I said, I had a really lazy day Tuesday because of the power out thing and just not having anything to fucking do. So I had to get in there. Also, characters that are really favorite, I like that are more side characters, are like. I really like all the. I mean, I built them this way, but I like all of the princes and princesses. Like, that's all. They're pretty important, so I put a lot of care into, like, developing them as, like, independent, powerful characters.
No, yes.
I
said we haven't seen enough of Prince Menaeus, but I definitely feel like there is some thought put behind that character. We just haven't seen it yet. I'm just like,
Yeah, Menace is like very, very critical. He's got a lot of stuff going on. You'll see more out of him. Like, and part of the reason why I started doing letters was, one, I wanted to, like, actually, like, draw out a big response, because, session-wise, the High King hadn't been in screen, so I wanted to kind of, like put his voice back into the game. But also the thing is just, like, the thing that I really like about letters is just, I get to pull almost like the as you know trick. I just get to, like, pepper in little bits of world building and, like, mention off-screen plot threads. It's like, you might recall, Lucky, because I know that memory is not always our strongest suit, but this is the thing I did a lot for Wild Talents for Metahuman Renaissance. I had a whole...
That's right, you did the news.
Yeah, I had a whole headlines thing where I would just, like, every couple of sessions, I would just pepper in headlines. And some of them were in-universe reactions to your guys' shenanigans. Like, I'm pretty sure you railgunning the boat made it into the news the next day, because it was like, yeah, the police aren't sure. A mysterious Chinese businessman's yacht has been fucking exploded by what seems like some sort of high kinetic reaction. Possibly some sort of anti-ship railgun? Anyway, police are investigating. We don't fucking know, man. Because, like, that was the funny thing about Zeus, was that, like, railguns were, like, a setting thing because of super science.
Super science.
They were on, like ship-mounted railguns already. But yeah, like, so, like, I guess you get to do these little peppering things, like, Estelle mentioned a few things to Enos. Ainara mentioned a few things to Logesh.
Mhm.
Stuff like that. And the next round of letters will also be, just, some of it's just, like, pocket lint for NPCs who aren't in, on camera. But, like, lots of little things to pepper in. And like I said, the royal family has a lot of things going on that I'm very, very happy to get to. Some of my favorite characters, some of my characters I've had the most fun designing, like, aren't even on screen yet. This is my favorite part of this game. I did this for months where, like, one of my favorite characters I had in my back pocket while you guys were literally back in Crown was the Lady in White, the White Widow.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was holding onto that shit for months. And I'm just like, this is gonna be so rad when we get to pull this one out.
It was rad. It's still rad. I still have hopes and dreams requiring the involving the Lady in White.
Honestly, I think the main thing is, like, I put a lot of thought and effort and thus have a lot of affection for most of the kind of, like, heirs of the high houses. Like there's a lot of dynamics going on with the Espada siblings. Again, she hasn't been a super focus, but I got a lot of stuff in mind for, like, Paz. Like, that's a character, once again, talking about letter relations, been setting up a lot. Like, Airless hasn't been on camera as much, but I feel like when I have shown her, she has been kind of, like, stoutly there, definitely for Conrad, probably for the rest of you.
I think we're gonna get more of her once we actually get to...
Yes, you guys have House Aich in your plan, so I haven't felt a need to, like, go super hog on them. The Ferrettis have a lot of interesting stuff going on that I feel like is kind of gonna ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And it should make no mistake that, Kefis Verity is very important to the story because the crew latched onto him, but also, he's in a very fun place in drama. Same with, like, Agave Cheval.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's always fun to bring to the front. I kind of feel like the characters who have, like, out of that block, who have, like, funnily enough, the least characterization, but are also still the most talked about, is the Marin twins.
It's true.
They kind of have that twin problem where they're always a set, so I haven't had a chance to kind of develop them independently. But there's still stuff going on with them. Like, I have story beats and stuff in mind with them. And then, you added their younger sister to the Teen Girl Squad, so...
I'm very excited about Teen Girl Squad.
Hey, it's working. So yeah, Rain's really clicking, but yeah, like I said, there is a certain amount of, like, latching onto early stuff. So, like, world building obviously is, like, of course you guys are going to interrogate the world. That's the fucking point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so naturally, like, some of the earlier sessions were slower. We obviously do still have exposition. These sessions, like, basically a session's worth between 3-ish sessions. Like, one whole session's worth back and front of Lorelei Rock was just expo,
Yeah.
World building stuff, examining. But, like, as you return to places you've been before, we need to do less of that. Like, I feel the need to, like, every time you guys go back to Stonehearth, I don't need to describe what Stonehearth is anymore.
No, like, I don't think we have to make checks to get through the Shadow Pass anymore either. It's just like, we're gonna go through the Shadow Pass.
I may ask you, like, what your plan is with a larger group about, like, the volcanic vents and shit, but, like, no, you already did it. The bone demons don't respawn instantly, the bone devils, so, like, that's yeah, you guys have navigated this. It's not as dramatic for you to have to do it every time,
No, but I do think that basically every time we get somewhere new... I know I'm a person who likes to look at everything and poke it, maybe give it a lick. Like I said, and there are some times I will, like, latch onto something very particularly. Like, I don't know how much of the Dragon Bone in the Shadow Pass, I don't know how much of a deal you, like, intended that to be, but I've kind of made it a deal now. Somewhat.
I mean, I think there are extra dimensions because we did the thing, which is, like, this is how I get a lot of exposition done in Rain, is you asked me, like, hey, what would happen if? I feel like my number one askers about that are Lucky and Dallas. Axe is probably somewhere in the third, because Axe kind of, like, internally hems and haws about asking, like, what would happen if, and more of just, like, I'd like to do this, that, or the other thing, and sometimes it's like, okay, here's the steps to do that, and then other times it's like, there's, like, 4 other things involved. I think at one point Axe was like, really focused on, like, canned food and tinned rations, and I was just like, well, you guys are probably at the tech level where you could start to figure that out, but, like, in real life, that was military ration tins were invented at the behest of Napoleon because he was like, hello, I am Emperor Napoleon, here's 1 gajillion French marks, if you figured it out. I mean, it's the thing. You only like talk about these things like once or twice, but you do get really focused. Like you're like, man, I'm really locked in on this, and then it's kind of like we talk about it and then we move past. So like I said, that's why I say I don't think you're my number one asker of like, hey, what would happen if? You're more of a like, I'd like to figure out, X, Y, or Z, and sometimes there's like a plan for that, and other times it's like there's a lot of stuff in the middle. There's 24 whole letters before Y,
I think the best way that I can explain it is Axe is very focused on getting one particular thing done to the point where he might ignore some of the shortcomings or pitfalling of his plan because he wants the result and doesn't necessarily think about the process. Dallas will ask about getting a result but never explain his process, so we kind of have to dig that out of him.
Yeah.
Me, I ask a lot of questions, but usually all my questions are on every point of the process, which can take a while in its own regards.
Mm-hmm. And then for our other two players, Logesh has no process, or Loth has no process. Loth's process is just, he thought it would be cool. Which again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And Aaron's process is that Comrade has been secretly working on the process the whole time for like 3 sessions in the background.
Quietly.
And then the process is sprung up, the result is sprung upon you.
Yes.
And sometimes out of character, he will ask for help with the process, but like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like Comrade as a character, I don't want to say he's not like bold or reckless. He very much is in terms of actions, but like, he doesn't really do plans half-cocked. Like, when Comrade actually is like, I want a specific thing to happen, like I said, Aaron has been working on this specific thing in the background, mulling it over, and so it pops up. Sometimes it don't pop up all the way.
Mm.
But yeah, so like, there's differences in how the different characters handle, and that's good. But I think that is like some of the slowdown sometimes is in that interrogating the setting part. Mm. But you talk about the dragon bone, it's like, that part was like asking about what would happen if you did some stuff to the skeleton was definitely had me go like, okay, hold on. I gotta think about this one. Because technically, there's no rule that says you couldn't do that. Like, this is... Hey, Chad, guess what? Secretly, my process as the game master is almost always when anybody, usually it's Lucky or Dallas or Axe, asks me about, like, hey, what's one weird interaction with this spell? My first response is, okay, what did I write in the spell? What did past me do? And sometimes... it's a point where I fire it up and I'm like, okay, no, the spell is phrased this way. You can't really do that with this spell. Sometimes I hedge with like, that's probably a thing that I think is okay inside the school of sorcery you're talking about. We can come up with a different spell that does this later. But it's mostly I look at it. And then there'll be times where I'm like, no, the way I've phrased this spell is open-ended enough. You could do that. Which is where we're at with the dragon thing. And sometimes I'm just like, what the fuck was past me talking about? I actually, I didn't say anything about it because it really doesn't matter to the player characters. I like rewrote speaking in tongues, the like basic dragon spell, because I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, this says you can't do kindred languages. That's like really bad. There's like 3 different human languages tops right now in this setting. But it was like one of the very spells I wrote early, right? So it was like our scope was different. I'm not really making it racist. I wanted it as like, oh, well, it's a Hydrus miracle, so it's supposed to bridge the gaps in men, and I'm just like, I'm looking at it like, no, that's function-wise, that's way worse. You'd get a lot more out of, like, looking at, like, different spells, but still only doing the restriction of, like, spoken, because it's restricted to spoken languages only. It's speakings in tongues, not reading in tongues. I was like, no, I'll rewrite this to be any spoken language, but then I added a caveat of, like, does not work with written-only languages, also doesn't work with languages that are technically non-verbal. So, like, talking about code languages or, penitent sign, can't do that. Technically probably couldn't do drum code because that's all, like, verbal, or not even verbal,
signal lanterns.
Rhythm-based. Yeah, signal lanterns, that kind of stuff we've talked about. Because it's a really cheap spell. I actually, by the way, when I talk about, like, the narrative, like, ranking of powers, I'm pretty sure I ranked speaking other languages and speaking only as, like, negatory or minor. Because, like, and that, I do agree with that. Like, the ability to communicate with someone and not necessarily to influence them, but just be able to speak to somebody you couldn't speak to before is, like, no, I probably want you to do that, actually, as the game master. Like, language barriers are funny, and I think we have a lot of characters who are all about languages, so it would work to, like, overcome.
Mhm.
But also, if somebody actually had the ability to just be like, fuck you, speaking in tongues, I'm like, I'm not gonna fight you on that. That's not actually that big of a deal. Whereas, like, fast traveling, like, that's something that I'm almost always like, no matter what, I'm like, oh no, that's at least significant, if not major. And that's not just, like, Axe has also done some, like, project thinking about, like, fast traveling stuff, but, like, that's how I've weighed, like Wind Witch stuff to, like, speed up travel, all that kind of stuff, you know. I'm like, no. Traveling is a big deal. Personal flight, not so much. Like, Airstream, I think, is like an intensity 3, like a medium intensity spell for it to be like flying in. Well, the button does solve problems, but yeah. Spells are funny, and I gotta like we're having a side discussion again in Patreon chat.
Well, no, I'll bring it up. Axe is basically saying that my spellcraft is an immediate problem solver, and I want to know how.
I think he means specifically in that you have the power to kill people. He does not have that power in Veilcraft.
Yeah, he does. He has a sword, and he's really good at it.
Well, yes, no, he can hit people with a sword, but as a sorcery, Veilcraft has very, very few damage buttons. Which also, Soulcraft doesn't have a lot of direct damage buttons, but you have several buffs and abilities to make damaging better.
Well, yes, I'm very good at the enchantment, but the thing is, like, with the Soul Sunder, that's not a combat. That is just me, you know, that's me changing, that is changing matter from alive to dead. I can't, you know, hold back on it. I can't use it in a duel. If I use it on a human, that's probably really fucking bad too. You know, it's like, it's one of those things
about you using the dim mock death touch.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, no, I can instantly kill anybody, but if I go around using that willy-nilly as I please, people are going to start asking fucking questions. So yes, while it is an ability that I have, it is not something that I can just employ at a whim to solve my problems, because that will just create more problems.
I'm gonna be honest, we made some jokes about Nicola as the heresy character, because Nicola, he is a sorcerer, and he is supposed to be a spiritual character, and often enough Dallas remembers his kind of, like, religious bullet points. But also, I feel like Dallas and Nicola have a shared kind of, like, natural inquisitiveness to, you know, ask those questions, like, Omega, what would happen if? That, like, Nicola sometimes in characters thinks about these bullshit explanations, and you're just like, oh man, no.
No, you cannot split your soul.
That's not a good idea. It's a terrible idea. Like, I did a little bit of the mental math for what he was going to do, and, like, technically, I could have come up with a way, like, I could have eventually designed a spell for him to do that or something, but both out of character and then you guys in character had to be like, Nico, that's a terrible fucking idea. That sounds really bad.
Yeah.
Your soul doesn't just grow back. You do get juice back when you cast Azoth and, like, use up a little bit of it as energy, you know, and technically, every day you're alive, you're using up a little bit of your soul energy. You know, you're replenishing it by nourishing your mind and body. But the Azoth is just like a very explosive, rapid use of soul energy. But, you know, it's one of those things. Out of character, I feel like Axe is the heretical caster.
Oh, no,
I laugh. It's a little bit of a joke. Like, Axe definitely thinks much more about again, talking about the results of, like, oh, that spell has a really cool effect. That does something that's, like, even if it's, like, really spooky and bad, he's like, that's really haunting and has vibes. That's neat. In character, I don't know if I'll ever cast this because that's fucking super wrong, but, like, it's cool. You know, one of those things, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, there's a lot of, I like magic as a toolbox. I also think throwing fireballs and lightning bolts is cool, but, like, that should just be one neat trick you can do among other weird shit. Like I said, honestly, I think I've told you before, pyromancy probably has some fireballs in it, some throw fire at people. But that's not the spells you even discovered first. The first shit you discovered is, like, prognosticating. Also, joke's on you. Actually, you might just be focused on your Veilcraft. You said earlier in text you're narrowed in. But I've given lots of heretical things in different spell schools. Like, I talked about this before. I've given quite a few spells that are either outright illegal or are at least against religious convention to multiple schools of sorcery because I need some stuff that bad guys can do. That's not all just, like, secret. Yeah, Summoncraft has some very mean moves and always has, like, Calamitous Blade and, like, Demon Pacts and shit.
Yeah, because it has the Summon Monstrum, the Thorn Manacle, and a few other ones. I know Alchemy has the one where you basically grind up corpses
Yeah, alchemy has the Dust of Ancients to make mummy men, and also technically the Taquin is like very dangerous because mechanically you can use it to replicate people, you just shouldn't.
Soulcraft. Well, no, we have Stain the Soul. We have Infernal Command.
Yeah, you technically, even if it's for good purposes, technically commanding Monstrum is against the rules. It's one of those you know weird things. Stain the Soul is also a little icky. You had Soul Eater, but then I moved that back, so you'll get Soul Eater back later.
Yeah. But no, it's all like I don't consider Enos having a bunch of solutions for his problems because, again, Moral and X is as much of a I'll call him a rake. As much of a rake as Enos is, he is fundamentally a good person at heart, and he does not necessarily want to, cause beef with those, because it goes against one of his missions. So not his missions, his passions. Thank you. But so he's very careful about how he uses and I've also talked about this mechanically. It makes combat very boring if Enos just goes turn 1, I'm gonna cast fucking Kill the Soul, die.
It would also, I think, do the classic thing that happens in any long-form campaign where it would start influencing the combat, where you'd run into a lot more crossbowmen with tower shields and be like, try and touch me now, spell boy.
And that's one of those things that I always am careful about in tabletop games, and is making sure that we don't get too crazy on the escalation. Because to maintain a certain level of, fulfilling combat, you have to make sure your enemies are of a certain strength. If your player characters are just always throwing their biggest, baddest things immediately out of the gate, that means you have to come up with constantly bigger, badder enemies to throw at them. And at some point, you have just reached the point where we're fighting God, and we're just like, how do we get here? And you just go, you wouldn't stop fucking calling mine, people! And you're just like,
I mean, that is the Final Fantasy curve, right? It's like you start punching goblins and slimes, and then you arrive at a being which is recognizable as a deity, and you're just like, oh shit, we got here.
Yeah, but there's a difference between reaching the actual end goal and then us kind of forcing the encounters to escalate because we keep using stupid strong powers. It's it's one of the reasons why I like
it's kind of the drift I feel like that we had in Star Wars of enemies start one way, and I still used a lot of stock stat blocks, but also specialized enemies coming up of oh yeah, you guys are all doing this or you're all doing that. Well, that means we need more soak. That means we need more distance, or we need to get into range, and other stuff happens like that. And eventually the thing of where I realized that yes, every instance of an enemy we run into, every stat block that I design needs vigilance or cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't think you're supposed to do alacrity on other people, but it could be funny if you could do it for other people. Veilcraft doesn't have a lot of buffs for other people because it's a lot about your own senses and awareness. There are some things you can cast on other people. I should think about a few tricks that you can do for the squad. Because, Veil being sense-linked is, there's a lot of, sensory and intangible stuff. There's a lot of interesting things going on. Whether it's just literally the spell that lets you, stab people through armor, or, you can shifting shadow yourself to, get gobble dice. You can do, actual veils to hide yourself. You can de-veil things. I don't know. Mm. I know Leslock has banishment. Speaking of an off button, technically there are certain encounters you can and have ended by just going, back, get thee behind me, Satan! But, I don't think you've had much call to try it, but I would like to keep everybody aware. There is a Veilcraft spell that just, dismantles all glamours in, 50 feet. Illusions? Fuck them. I think it's, intensity 4, though, but, it's just, it is one of, I think, the iconic things the school is supposed to do. Just be no, I'm done with this. Yeah, dispelling. Just unweave. Oh, you do have it, okay. It hasn't come up yet, but yeah. But Axe said, Veilcraft is really good at finding clues, and I'm like, yeah, it's the sense magic, and I love magic crime solving, so a lot of fun spells. Soulcraft, I feel part of it is Lucky's influence to just ask about more things, but I feel Soulcraft is a very broad sorcery, which makes sense. It's tied to soul, so it has a very broad domain. we have tried to narrow it down to specifically, you know, people, places, things, but that gives you a lot of stuff. But Soulcraft is like really interesting because Dea Tacita is actually a really important deity, so like Soulcraft as her signature sorcery should be pretty broad and important, at least as much as Dragon Sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chad, I don't know if you realized this, but one of Omega's many cool things, TM. I really like the interplay between light and shadow, both literal and also figurative. Hydrus is the sun. The Dea Tacita is his shadow, literally. Like that's how it works, you know. So they are equal and opposite forces, but also, you know, kind of constrained by each other's presence, sort of a thing. But so I don't mind that Soulcraft has some very significant cues in it, but also like it means that we can do some interesting things. So Dea Tacita governs secrets, so like you get some divination type stuff, and also you talk to souls, so like interrogating people's souls. I like, you know, gave Soulcraft the cool psychometry stuff already.
Yep.
You know, that kind of thing.
I would like to use that more often. I asked for, you know, Vision of the Earth and Intelligent Soul, and you were very so kind to get me, but I would like be able to use oh god, what was it? The psychometry one more often. Figure out like who's been touching this. But I feel that one's more useful in, you know, solving magical crimes than, you know, discovering historical lore.
That's you guys. I need right now. You're in a history phase.
Yes.
We need to go back to the crime solving phase. You guys did a lot of crime solving. I feel like in Lampclair. Then you went home and you're like out there doing stuff. But definitely, like, there's really interesting kind of patterns going on. But so, like, the other thing is that, like, as the charm sorcery, like, Soulcraft has a lot of, like, short burst stuff. You've got a couple of, you know, weird intermediate buffs. The temporary buffs, like, you haven't used a lot of them, but they do exist to, like, Soul-Seeking Arrow, Heart-Rending Blade, or Heart-Seeking Blade, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
technically there's a couple of minion buffs, you know, Kindle the Heart.
Yeah, I know, but I feel those are very, very Aurelia coded, and I like.
Yeah, Aurelia latched onto them early, and
so that's
didn't
like
want to necessarily step on her steez.
No, I did not.
But you know,
I probably am gonna steal Soaring Steel Soul though, because that is actually pretty fucking rad. How dare?
That's okay. You've taught her a couple of things. It's good that she can like share the trick back with you. And hey, guess what? We're still very early in her character arc. She will get her own unique, iconic things, you know, as well later.
Yeah.
Like, we're working on stuff, but like, just because it's the more accessible one, Soulcraft, like, developed a lot of like mental stuff. Because there are a few interesting tricks, like technically Rune of the Stoneheart, like, shuts off your own passions, you know, so you can't get penalty dice, but also can't get bonus dice. There is some, like, intimidation and social stuff back and forth in, like, Dragon Sorcery and stuff like that, and, you know, so on and so forth. Well, yeah, not in new sorceries. New spells is a thing you can do. And, no, I won't be bitter about it. I'll let it go. But I will say, I have brought this up to you before, Axe, that, like, much like how Lucky and I powwow, we can powwow about spells, but you usually tend to, like I said, try to focus on trying to find specific applications for stuff, and sometimes that stuff is things that is not really, like, inside the school. Like, we've worked back and forth, and I have straight up told you that, like, outright teleportation is not going to be handled by Veilcraft. That is not a thing that governs spaces in the normal way. There is probably some weird travel-related things you can do, or kind of like, you know, jumping through stuff, but there's a few different things. But
Veil
there's
Gate.
also kind of like questions of like in a lot of cases, sometimes much like what happens with Lucky, you just ask me if there was a spell that does stuff, and I'm kind of just like, yeah, I can just make one up and like fit it into the backstory. I think the only spells that have been like recent inventions that have been like techniques developed by people in story is like I did not necessarily write in the fluff that Soaring Steel is, like, iconic to Aurelia, but I did kind of imagine it as, like, her trying to find her own place over something like Living Metal.
Yes.
Yeah, the map was an idea. There was a couple others. We've talked about you wanted some spookier ghost stuff back and forth. I think there were a couple of the more scry-type spells that were, like, trying to come up with ideas to, like, get a read on people. Or, like, get a read on specific objects, you know, other circumstances. You know, but the other thing also is that, like, True Seeing is just, like, straight up, like, that was Alestra, like, thought of a new way to apply dragon sorcery because she's surrounded by soulcrafters who have dark vision.
Yes.
So, like, she was like, wait a minute, I'm using the day sorcery. Can I do something with that? And she cracked a way to, basically perceive as if it was day.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm very excited to keep messing with sorcery and find new things. Like, I'm usually fine with the sorceries we have, except where I just run into a situations like, man, I could really like to be able to do a thing, and that's when I always go to Omega's like, hey Omega, can I do this? And Omega will be like, I can workshop something. Or
yeah, usually it's because you speaking of how fleshed out the Soulcraft is, usually you run into this problem and you're like, I think we could figure out something that Soulcraft could do here. So I'm like, you're right. And like, well, actually, sorry. So, X paused me because I had to read that, talking about can you make an augment that makes you spell and cast another person or just like that. So technically the way that works is, I don't do this a lot because it's a very boring way to fill out your spell lists, but there's nothing stopping you from scaling up. That actually reminds me, you wondered about scaling up the ability to become invisible, and I did also work on that. Mm-hmm. But like, those are pretty like logarithmic expansions of stuff. So like, it would be pretty easy to calculate the relative intensity to go multi-target. So if like, Night Eyes is just self-target, targeting another person outside of like touch range would be a thing, but I would have to increase the cost, proportionally. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So, being like, all right, everybody in a 5-foot huddle, that's like 1 or 2 extra intensity. That guy over there, that's another intensity. Usually I agree that touch range stuff is basically self, so it's +0. So there could be some room for like casting certain things on other people, but then I have to like think about how how are you doing this to other people? Like, I think you can cast Glam Eyes on other people, and if you can't do that, I need to like write that in, because like technically Glam Eyes, which gives you +1d to see through illusions and glamours, has like a material component where you like have like an ointment or a cream you like rub under your eye as kind of like part of the casting process. It's supposed to also involve some focus on the caster's part, but we could figure that shit out,
Mm-hmm.
So like that's a whole thing that I've brought up before. Like I've mentioned it before. I mean, that could be a new esoteric sorcery discipline to like reverse the one that makes your casting easier to voluntarily eat extra difficulty to like spread it. I would have to think about how that scales to like probably 3 techniques like the rest of them, but that could be an esoteric. Technically, because your esoteric slots are limited and your spell slots are not, just upgrading new spells is easier. But it is a thing of just like, I have mentioned before, if at any point the guys want a spell that scales up in that way, I can workshop it. Like, if you want more range, I think you want more people, more etc.
Yeah, I think the one that is on my mind is upgrading Stain the Soul, so I can make a craving go from, days to, years or something, or permanent even?
Yeah, longevity is another one, and it's like, that's a thing that I would be like, I think that's fine that that's not built into the spell already, because it's keeping it more affordable, and, more time frame, but, being, definitely you want to fuck some shit up. I'm like, yeah, that works, we can work with that.
Listen, Enos is down to maybe do some very, very no good, bad things, but...
I think we also talked about, the way it was phrased by, Loth was, mimicking the, Dancer LB, giving Enos, a big, iconic all-on-me taunt. And I'm like, yeah, we can work. That would effectively be Stain the Soul, but radial, right? Because it would be, hey, everybody gets a craving to look at you.
Yes.
Yeah, technically anybody who could cross-discipline into Veiling would have it. And that's the thing that's, very interesting about, like I said, building NPCs. Lots of characters end up with a little smidge of sorcery. The easiest for the NPCs you guys are running into usually is, a little fluff of alchemy, or a couple of little soulcraft tricks. But definitely, if you guys ran into more characters from the Central Island EU, Veiling would probably be it. And, there's a few other things. There's also the implication that, again, you guys don't really go around interrogating them, but, a decent number of random villages you go into will have, 1 or 2 weird people.
Yeah.
And those would probably be Veilers.
Oh, excuse me.
I mean, so technically, making a person is that's already a soulcraft spell. What was that? Cloak the soul? Hide the soul?
Which one?
Something your soul? To make it so that people don't...
Shroud the soul.
Shroud the soul, yeah. So that just makes people think you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
That works
that
for like a sort of mental magic.
Yeah.
The mechanical effect is you roll charm plus stealth, which is very funny.
It is. I like it
but
a lot.
like veiling areas would be veilcraft. You're already working on this problem, so it's not a big deal. But here's the thing, Axe. Here's the funny thing. The normal discipline of veilcraft, as you understand it and as you were taught it, and as how other people in this setting are taught it, is primarily a way to defeat or bypass illusions or unnaturalness. Veilcraft exists for you to craft the veil, which is a thing that the immaterium that separates this world and the other side. But like Sylvanas was probably doing stuff before that related to his realms, which are Sylvanas is the god of forests and natural places, animals, things that are lost. He is the god of crossroads, boundaries, a little bit liminal spaces type stuff. Like Sylvanas is the god of the wilderness, which is places that are lost and places that people haven't found. So like literally setting up a zone of not finding a place. Here's the thing, actually. I think you're thinking of this too physically. Like this is another thing. Axe as a person, sci-fi writers have no sense of scale. Axe as a player is like not always good at like the scale stuff. It's like, why couldn't I just invent a spell to communicate over, vast ranges? Or finding it really frustrating that like the game is like, oh yeah, you want a range of like a square mile? That's really expensive. But it's like, yeah, no, like I think Greg Stolze correctly pegged that like that is a significant or major, or my favorite narrative effect table is, I think the highest one is catastrophic.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, actually free communication really fucks up a lot of shit. So like long distance talking or like exchanging information is like crazy good. I think even being like loosey goosey with the range of like scrying is like, Axe doesn't scry a lot. Like scrying is crazy. Like the default, I think you don't even need to be attuned to scry. Like that's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you don't try to scry much, but like that's remote viewing basically. There's you want to like see what a person is doing or see what a place is doing inside your rough radius. You can just do that. It's a thing you can do.
I think Axe might be worried. Sorry, don't mean to cut you off there, but I think Axe is sometimes worried because I have, audibly and several times talked about how I do not want magic to just be used as a problem-solving device. And I think Axe takes that to mean that he's not supposed to use magic to solve his problems ever.
I also think that we've talked about before, Axe is very concerned about the amount of time we take. I think Axe would also be bothered if he, like, cast a scrying spell wrong, basically, like, called the wrong question. He's talked about this with Mirror Mirror before. And, like,
was late for this.
Wasted everybody's time on like, a scene that didn't need to happen. But also, like, that's part of the point of, like, Discovery, right? Is, like,
yeah.
But, like,
no, it's like
pretty cool. Wind Witches have some pretty cool possibilities. Like, spoilers, chat. Magic is cool.
Magic is cool.
Every single type of magic in this game is rad.
I do actually probably scry more, but not like scrawl just to like solve questions, just to scry for scrying sex. Like, hey, I want to check on who so-and-so is doing. What's going on at that location? Tell me, oh magic mirror.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be like
actually, this isn't even a spoiler. I think I've mentioned this before. Cressida does that, by the way. Like,
yeah.
When you guys are away from her, she has both scrying and mirror mirror and shit and stuff like that. Like, she checks in on you. There is a reason why Leslock's mother is, like, probably not as bothered by the shenanigans you guys get up to as she should be. It's because she has the ability to constantly check and make sure you guys are okay.
Yeah. So it's like, I definitely think you should be using scrying more, but not for, like, to, solve the crime question we have, but, just as, something narrative.
Actually, I don't know what the maximum range on scry is for a person, but absolutely should just see what the fuck Narissa is doing.
Yeah, no, it's all like, just, peek on Narissa, be like, that's the girl I love.
But, like, there's definitely cases for stuff like that, and, like, I mean, not if you do it in, like, the middle of the day while she's minding her own business. It's the kind of thing where, like, yeah, you can be weird about it. Also, you're playing the weird. Veilcraft is the weird with a Y one.
Weird.
But no, like I said, every sorcery is, like, really, really neato and, like, has a lot of stuff going on. We could go through that already. You don't literally read everybody's mail, but you're joking. But I want to say, you don't literally do it. We could talk about, like, I could unpack, once again, I could do a whole podcast episode video essay shit about, like, how I have decided, like, what's in each sorcery, how they work, like, what goes where, kind of a thing.
Maybe we should do Rain Deb Diaries.
I absolutely could do that. I've put so much work into sorcery, like all that kind of stuff. Like, there is a lot of world building into it and a lot of thought, and like I do sometimes as the GM not see eye to eye with the players. Like, Axe has come up with some spell ideas that I'm like, it doesn't quite fit Veilcraft. And even some of your requests, Lucky, I've been kind of like, to make that work in Soulcraft, I'd probably have to adjust it or like find a hook. I think even some of Nikola's ideas for alchemy I've had to think about. Dallas, though, is at least, like, as the sorcerer character, Dallas is the one who least asks me about making new spells. He just notices I made new spells and just goes for it. Well, no, that's okay. That's what you ask, right? But it's like one of those things where it's definitely like I'm just saying that, I don't always just cave to the player's whims. Like, in my mind, sorcery has like certain guidelines, certain rules, and certain purposes. And also, literally, many of the sorceries also have double secret purposes.
Double secrets.
Oh yeah, scrying I think is based on people or objects. So it's just, you just do it if you know where you're looking.
Oh, excuse me.
So like the kind of the way I phrased it is like, again, kind of, peek behind the curtain, but this is all thematics that I've been kind of like slowly peeling back to the players, is like, we kind of set this out that like the gods have their specific thrones, their specific domains, that sort of thing. So like, to me, every deity figure has like a place in this world and like a function, right? Like, yeah. They are part of a great system. The world was once chaotic and formless, and everybody kind of has sorted it out. It's a little like, Greco-Romantic, a little kind of like Nordic, but also is a little more mechanical than that, in the sense that like, everybody kind of has like their everything they're supposed to do. And like, from those gods, they created specific things in this world, but also factors of like, their servants, their kindred, their sorceries are all kind of an expression of that. Like, for instance, with Okeanos and, like, Anima. That sorcery is very clearly, he is the god of the wind and the wave. So the sorcery is so that individual people can manage wind and waves when he's not there all the time. Because, he's a very important god with many important things to do. Because humans don't live underwater, wind witches are really focused on the wind part and less on the wave part, though they do have a few things that do some water-based stuff. Honestly, also, I want to say, I think Anima is probably the spell school that has, like, the least, like, heinous shit in it so far.
That's what I was just thinking about, actually.
But also, it's kind of like, Anima is probably one of the most regimented by people sorcery there is, because
it's very important for sailing and stuff.
Yes, for humans. You can basically range strangle people with a spell. That's nasty. Like, that's not honorable. That's not against the rules. That's just like, well, they have breath in their lungs, so their breath comes out. You can also set people on fire with burning hot wind, which is a little mean, but like, mostly it's just like, you blow stuff, you push, you pull, you jump. There's a lot of stuff going on. Did I make sure to... Sorry, I'm talking about Abiotic Factor. I'm like, did I make sure to enter properly? Let's...
But with that, we are about to hit the top of the hour mark, and while I could keep Omega talking about rain and me talking about rain, I think it is probably a good time to wrap things up.
I'm literally entering the Abiotic password right now. So, yeah, probably a good time to call it. Alright, so, let's do outro stuff. Hey, number one, first of all, like I mentioned at the top, but I'll mention it at the end to remind everybody who's still here, check out the Wanted, if you didn't. Like I said, I tried some new stuff, both visually and audio, so I'd love to hear people's feedback on that more, even if it's for a servant who's, like, not exactly, like, busting the top of everybody's list in Wandjina. I think she's perfectly nice, but I also understand, like I said. But, we'll continue to use these new techniques and adjust as we go forward with our future banners, which may be more spicy. Also upcoming, not only will I be posting the new AP of Rain soon, that's uploaded, so that should be the next day after this goes out to public. On Sunday, our game day. But also, Monday, gonna be the final Death Stranding stream. I think we're gonna start by delivering a pizza.
Yes.
Yeah, so, get ready to try that shit out, and stay tuned for the rest of our beeswax. Sorry, I've got Abiotic open, and I'm just looking out the window, and I just see Lucky bouncing around doing stuff. It's very funny. But, in addition to all that content stuff, be sure to like this video if you watched this far, leave your comments down below, join our Discord. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you ring the bell for notifications so you're seeing more videos. And check out all of our previous weeks of videos and all of our upcoming videos and streams. so much, everybody. You can consider joining our channel memberships. It's a great way to support the channel, become a knight of the fluffle, badges and emotes. And, of course, you can consider supporting us on Patreon. You get this episode in audio format for as little as $1 a month or approximately $10 a year on an annual membership. At higher levels, you can get videos like Wanted early, you can listen to the show get recorded live, and you can get an on-air shout-out like Adam DeHarp, Black G, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, JD Van 1000, Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Charvor, and Varen the Crow. Thank you very much for your support, all of our patrons, all of them. Thank you very much for listening. That's it. Go home.
Show's over!